Welcome to the Troy Kearns podcast. We discuss real estate investing, entrepreneurship, and business to help you retire and become financially free. Make sure you share this podcast with someone who could benefit from it and leave us a 5-star review. It truly helps me out. This show will mentor you towards financial freedom. If I can do it, so can you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Troy Kearns podcast. Today I'm with a good friend of mine, Matt Karstetter. I met Matt when I first moved to Kansas City. I was looking for a gym to work out in. I was like really admiring all the great work that was there. And I was like, man, who owns this place? I want to freaking figure out who this is. And you ended up owning the foundation in Westport, still do today. Welcome to the podcast. And then you actually flew out to Las Vegas with your wife at the time.
Right.
And did a podcast with me there, like one of my first guests out there. We took you to the Raiders game.
Yep.
And had a good time. And then you've been fucking taking off since there. And then you got a podcast. You want to drop everybody your handle?
Yeah, so we have the Foundation podcast. It's a kind of a play off of the gym brand, the Foundation 24-Hour Gyms. But we talk about, we have a lot of athletes on there, but we also talk about faith, fitness, of course.
Yeah.
Finances, things of that nature. And a lot of human optimization stuff. Because, I got the gyms, but I also have Prime Recovery and Wellness.
Right, which I'm a member of.
Yep. Yeah, and I brought some things for us to take today, so we can go through that. But yeah, man, appreciate having me back. This is podcast number 2 for me being on your podcast. You were on mine, a month ago?
Yeah, I was on yours, which was great. It came out outstanding. I was like, hey, that looked out good. I forgot about it, and then it aired up. We'll link to that on this one as well. We'll actually link to both of these so that people can kind of go back. So lots changed in your world and lots changed in my world since I met you. Number one, I didn't live out in Kansas City when I first met you. And now we're out in my building in downtown Kansas City, which is pretty cool. I think you and I even met at a couple buildings I was looking at, like when I first met you.
I walked this one with you. Yeah. I've been here to walk it with you a couple times. And because you were negotiating this for quite a while.
Yeah, well, originally, I think where I met you was in front of 802 Broadway. And I was going to that's where I originally met you. And I was going to originally buy that one. Mm-hmm. And then, funny enough, the guy who I may be doing a deal with ends up buying that one and turning it into apartment buildings. He's almost done. Actually, he is done. He's like 70% leased up.
That's nice.
And then lots happened in your world. When I first met you, you owned the Liberty Foundation, the Westport Foundation. Liberty was your newest one you had just opened.
Yeah.
And then you owned the Westport, which was your second oldest one, and your baby was the Manhattan one. Is that correct?
Yeah, started in Manhattan, opened that one in 15, opened Westport the end of 19, so just in time to get hit by COVID.
Yeah.
And then in 2021 we opened Liberty, and then end of 2022 we opened the Olathe location, and now we're in the permitting process to build our ground up location off 29 in Zone.
That's where I've been telling you. That's where I've been hot on from the get-go, right? I've been telling you that's the spot to be. How long you been bodybuilding, bro?
Well, I haven't competed since 2020, and I've downsized. But my first competition was in 2007, actually. I was I was a senior in college, and I competed my first time, and then I've competed 12 times since. Uh-huh. And then my last one was in 2020. My highest accolades, I guess, would be I turned pro in the WBFF organization.
Is that like Worldwide Bodybuilding Federation or something like that? Or
I don't know. I don't know, man. It's been a while, and honestly, it's a good organization for bodybuilding. Though it's definitely not as competitive as the MPC. Okay. Which the MPC is the.
Is that Jay
basically, Jay, you got to start in the MPC and then you graduate or become pro into the IFBB, right?
Got it.
So. At WFF, I got my pro card, and then my main focus was I wanted to be an IFBB pro in 2017.
So you were obsessed.
Yeah, man, I love it. I love the sport, and I
like the discipline. About it?
I like the discipline. Okay. Honestly, the stage aspect really isn't my favorite.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I'm fine with it. But really, for me, it's structure. Like I'm a structure guy. I like to have some goals to shoot for.
Yeah.
And stage is how you go compare yourself to other guys, and I want to kill them all. Like at the end of that, if you anything.
So that's your mentality.
100%. I want to win at all times.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I didn't most of the time. I won some shows.
How did you take that?
Oh man, not well.
I mean, because you're training. So tell me, what are you competing in a weight class?
Yeah. So in the MPC, I was a heavyweight bodybuilder. So you got
What does heavyweight mean?
Heavyweight is 198 and a quarter to 224 and a quarter, I believe.
What did you weigh?
My last show, I weighed in at 218.
218. How much % body fat?
I was 4.2% on a DEXA scan.
What's a DEXA scan?
So you can measure body fat in a few different ways. Like a lot of people will just use the fat calipers or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're good at it and you have the same person doing it, it's fairly consistent. Or you can do an in-body. We have those at the gyms. You hold on to these things, stand on a platform.
I've stepped
fairly accurate, but you got to keep in mind with the in-body that it's off an algorithm like a lot of things, and bodybuilders fall out of that parameter.
Yeah.
We carry way more muscle than the average and less fat, so it's not always a true representation. So the DEXA scan is probably the best way of knowing exactly what your lean body mass is.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to. I had to literally get a prescription to do it because it's a low-level radiation.
Okay.
It's nothing, but last time I did, I had to get a doctor's order to do it. So
bullshit.
Yeah, I was 218 at my last show. When I did nationals in 2017, I got 10th out of 37, right? So, but I was 218 at 4.2% body fat, and then I was going to compete at nationals 2 weeks later. And I got in my head, and I had a coach. I wasn't a good client. I said, hey.
Why were you a good client?
I wasn't a good client because I told him what I was going to do. I didn't follow direction, right? Like I look great at 218, 4.2% body fat.
Yeah.
But I thought, man, my first time at nationals, I've qualified multiple times, but I never thought I was good enough to go. Yeah. So I never went. And this year I went. I knew I was going to be. 2017? Yeah, I knew I was going to be deadly. And so 2 weeks before that, I was 218, 4.2% body fat. Yeah. Well, I told my coach, Matt Porter, at the time, rest in peace, he passed away.
Oh, sorry.
But I told him, I was like, I need to be a light heavy. You and I are business guys. We're strategy across the board. So I'm thinking, I need to be the biggest guy in my weight class.
Right.
So I decided to cut weight to make 198 and a quarter.
Okay.
I hadn't been 198 in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I killed myself, and I didn't take a bunch of diuretics. I just dieted down, depleted water. Hour before weigh-ins, I made weight at my hotel.
Okay.
Bro, I was out of it though. Like my words were coming out backwards. I was all jacked up. So I went in, stepped on.
So bad strategy.
Well, if it would have worked, it would. So I made weight. I got in there. I made weight, and immediately went back to my hotel room. I brought 2 liters of saline with me. I stuck a suction cup to the wall and gave myself IVs, trying to pull out of it. Because at nationals, you have a day in between. After weigh-ins, you have I think it's about a day before you actually hit stage. So trying to, rehydrate.
Yeah.
I was so depleted. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I was 218. Yeah. And I'm 198. I dropped 20 pounds.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, and I already had nothing to lose.
How'd you do that?
Honestly, I don't really remember.
Dude, I can't even lose 5 pounds right now.
I didn't even look at a carb, I'll tell you that much. Yeah. You know what I mean? I just manipulated my nutrition, manipulated my water, cardioed hard.
It's all about macros, right?
Yeah, I mean,
for a guy like me, I know it boils down to sugar and stuff like that, but like what everybody wants to know, we'll go back to the bodybuilding real quick, but how do you build, what's the simplest answer to how do you build muscle and lose fat?
Well, if you can gain muscle while losing fat, you're kind of a unicorn. It's tough to do. Okay. Especially on a competition level.
But just average person.
The first thing I'd say is just don't eat sugar. Don't drink sugar. Okay. There's nothing good from it.
So no sugar.
The only time you can utilize sugar, in my opinion, is post-workout. You capitalize on that insulin spike, right?
So do you still not eat sugar?
I never have. Even as a kid, my parents didn't have soda in the fridge, anything like that. We never eat desserts. I don't have a sweet tooth.
So when you talk sugar, I don't eat sugar, in my mind I'm thinking, all right, cut out the candy and cut out the pops, which I pretty much don't do any pops anymore or soda. Yeah. I was just doing it out of habit because my wife drinks a lot of soda and she's super thin, as you know. Sure. But that's her one vice. She likes the soda. But how far does the sugar go for you? I mean, because there's sugar in other stuff.
Yeah, but you got to consider what type of sugar. It's a carbohydrate, it's a refined carb. Right. And there's nothing real benefit to it. It just spikes your system. You know what I mean?
So what things am I not allowed to eat if I'm avoiding sugar?
Soda, candies, cakes, stuff like that. If you're eating fruit that has sugar in it, that's different. You know, there's a lot of fiber in fruit, so your body's going to process it a little bit.
You're okay with fruit?
Yeah, to a degree. You can overdo anything, right? Okay. But I just don't eat candy bars. I don't drink pop. None of that crap. That stuff literally.
Should have seen what I had last night.
I mean, that stuff feeds like cancer. That's really, so a lot of people, if you fast, that if I ever was diagnosed with the disease or cancer, first thing I'd do is start fasting. You know, cut off the food source for the cancer, right?
Okay.
That's my opinion on it. But
so you think fasting's a good thing?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it doesn't make a ton of sense because I'm always trying to gain tissue. You're not going to gain lean mass in a.
I've been with you when you eat though. You eat like I remember going to Texas with you that one time. Your clock is always ready for the next meal. Like, what's your next meal right now? I'm sure you have one coming.
I mean, I'm basic, dude. I eat chicken and rice, ground beef and rice. Yeah. Those I just alternate those out through the day. My first meal of the day is 2 whole eggs, 10 egg whites. I switched over to regular bacon because I'm like, maybe I feel like some people do better on fats than carbs.
Yeah.
I was doing turkey bacon, but so I've been eating regular bacon is awesome. We'll see how that goes. I've been doing it for like 3 weeks, see how fat I get. But so 2 whole eggs, 8 egg whites, 3 pieces of bacon, a cup or a cup and a half, depending on my training day, of oatmeal. And then I put fruit on top of that.
Okay.
And I mean, first thing in the morning, I get up, I have a hydrogen water bottle. I drink 16 ounces of water, take all my supplements.
Yeah, I've been hearing that lately too, the Gary Brecka hydrogen water. What's that all about? Break that down. Is that like seems like a little bit of a bullshit.
I don't think it's bullshit. So what it does is it like infuses the water with hydrogen, and it's good for a lot of different things. Skin health, gut health, things of that nature. But it allows it apparently to get into your system, get into your cells, and it has like antioxidant properties like that. There's a lot of benefits, so maybe we can list that on here as well. But
sure,
I'll get up, I'll drink my water. Then
what time are you waking up?
I usually get up at 6.
Okay.
Today I got up at 4:45 because my brain said it was time to think about stuff.
Yeah.
I generally try. I get up.
Do you fall asleep early? Do you have a hard time falling asleep? I have a hard time falling asleep.
Yeah, it goes in waves for me.
Yeah.
If for some reason I'll just have a calm sense over me, I can sleep fine.
Yeah.
But then I'll go 2 weeks where it's like I get 3 hours. It's because I'm stressed, right?
Yeah.
You can't turn it off.
Yeah.
That's the blessing.
Benadryl turns it off. That's the only thing that works for me is taking Benadryl.
Really? Benadryl works for me too.
Yeah. Do you take Benadryl?
Yeah, I mean cough medicine.
Yeah,
but I try not to do that too much. But like
if I want a good night's sleep guaranteed, I take Benadryl.
Yeah, melatonin doesn't work for me.
It does not work for me either. I could take 500 of them.
Right, and some people 2 of them knocks them out, but I've taken a lot. I think I've taken like 11 or 12 of those pills.
Oh yeah, the 20 milligrams too.
Yeah, and so the thing is, we do a DNA test through Prime.
Yeah.
And there's a pharmacology panel, and it tells you if you're hypermetabolizer of certain things, or you can put in your prescription. Yeah. It'll tell you if there's a better alternative. Your DNA is going to adapt to it better.
Right.
And it told me I'm a hypermetabolizer of melatonin.
Okay.
So if I get an effect, it'll be very early on and very short. I don't notice anything.
Yeah.
So melatonin doesn't do anything for me. I do like Benadryl. If I haven't slept in a couple weeks, take a swig off a cough medicine and I sleep, right? I'm not saying that's a good habit to get into, but it does work.
Yeah, listen, I don't do the cough medicine, so I'm way better than you. I just take the pink pill.
There you go.
Yeah, I just take literally the pink one. I'll take 2 of those, and if I want to have a good night's sleep, because I'd rather do that than wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Because if I do it normally, I might fall asleep from 11 and wake up at 1.
Yeah.
Or 2. And then I'll try to fall back asleep, but I won't. So if I'm in my zone where I'm feeling like working, that actually works out pretty good.
Yeah.
But if I'm trying to just get caught up and I'm tired, I feel like I have to do the Benadryl.
Yeah, like I said, it's probably not the best alternative, but dude, operating on no sleep, one day is one thing, but over a week, you're frustrated. You don't operate as well. You know, your brain's not functioning like it should. You're not sharp. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So you got to do what you got to do. I mean, I try and meditate. I do the breathing stuff, but it doesn't always work.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I mean, I think at least we're being honest, right? Like, we can be like,
I'm not advising doing that. If there's definitely healthier ways to do it, but guys like us, we have a high stress life. That's just the way it is.
Right.
And that's a blessing and a curse because we handle it really well in the day-to-day, but turning your brain off at night is sometimes not possible.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing that you can do is have your phone by you.
Yeah.
I know that for me for sure, because I'll like 2 o'clock in the morning comes and if I have my phone by me, I just grab it, and then it starts triggering the brain.
Yeah.
I'll get on X. That's what I'm on right now.
Yeah.
Are you on X?
No.
Oh, dude. Like, you know, we're doing social media, but X has changed the game, dude. I'm like highly political right now, so I'm watching like everything that's going on with the new administration.
Yeah.
But like every single thing is out there unfiltered, where the other social media start to filter shit. And I'm just a big fan of Elon. Like I watched I listened to his book. I interviewed his dad on my podcast.
I saw it. I watched that.
Yeah,
one.
so
Cool.
I was trying to get him.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, well, I can't get him, so let me try to get his dad.
You might.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'm not giving up.
Right on. Yeah, I'm all about it. I support the administration. The tariffs are something that we can get into. You know, we're going to both talk about construction.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's actually probably going to postpone my project.
Oh.
It's that heavy for what I'm doing. Or now I'm kind of pivoting to, okay, maybe not structural steel. Maybe all cast in place concrete.
That's a better way. Tilt up concrete, don't you think?
Well, that's how I'm doing this project on the exterior, but
Let's go back to that, because we're kind of jumping around, but let's jump around a little bit.
Okay.
So because I kind of took you into the physical world, and right before that we were talking about the gyms. So you've got the gym in Manhattan. You opened in 2007. Is that right?
2015.
2015. You went to college in 2007.
Correct. Graduated.
So you graduated. So you first gym is 2015. Second gym is Westport in 2019.
Correct.
Third gym is Liberty in 2020.
I believe we opened in 21. I bought the property in 2020, which is a story in itself.
Yeah, because you want to break us through that?
Well, no, but I mean, it was a big box, but it was right on the interstate. It was a great buy.
Right.
I mean, they were asking 1.7. Nobody wanted to touch it.
1.1 is what you paid, if I remember correctly.
Yep,
Yeah.
I did. And I negotiated that. I walked away from that deal twice over 7 months, and I've got it down $600,000.
Yeah.
But nobody else would touch it. Everybody was scared. Even my lenders tried to talk me out of it.
Yeah.
I leveraged everything I had. I already signed the contract.
How much did you put down? Because I know what the answer is.
10%.
Yeah, it was an SBA loan.
Yeah.
So like I always tell people in my coaching program, like, dude, if you have a business, the best way to buy properties is an SBA loan.
If it's $5 million or less.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's why these tariffs are pushing me out.
Okay.
Because I'm going to exceed the SBA 5 million threshold, right? So that's something we.
But I think that comes into a development standpoint. So how much is it going to? So now let's go. So first of all, ask you one question. So what's your most profitable gym out of those?
It's probably my most recent one, Olathe.
Olathe, because that was. You rented. That's the only space that you don't own.
Correct.
Which for a guy like
pros
us,
and cons, my friend.
Okay, so what are the pros?
Pros are I don't have to worry about salting the parking lot. You know, anything that's outside of my space, I don't have to maintain. Now, what is my responsibility and what's the property owner's responsibility? That has been a subject of debate multiple times. Come out on top. Being a contractor helps because I know more about that building than the people who own it.
Yeah.
Being that it's a RET, a group of guys in California, they've never seen the property. They took possession of it shortly before I leased it.
Yeah.
So they've never been on the property. They don't know what the property is, right? And I'm a contractor, so I get it. So the pros are I don't have to deal with a lot of the maintenance, right? And it's in a highly developed area. There's a ton of people, so it's great. The cons are I don't own the property.
Right.
You know, so I'm paying rent and I'm not chipping away at any capital.
And you're not able to write it off.
Correct.
Except for your lease amount.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, we have.
What are you paying for your lease?
Man, so I walked that space in 2016, I think, 17. It was vacant. It used to be a Bally's years ago. Genesis came in, took it over to shut it down on purpose. They closed it after 2 weeks, pushed people to other locations, right? Then it sat vacant for 5 years before I took it. So they didn't winterize things well. The pipes are all oxidized. I mean, they got like 3 or 4 inch iron pipe. We pulled some sections, and you can't even pick your pinky in the damn thing because, you know, we're on the second level. When it all settles, especially from the locker rooms, urine, water, that all crystallizes. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the plumbing's been an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
And they always want to put it on me. I mean, in January of this year, I've already spent over $3,000 on plumbing repairs. That's crazy. Dude, I had plumbers out 16 times in 2024.
Is that your responsibility? Is it one of those deals with the lease? You have to take care of the plumbing?
Well, Yeah, but like we're arguing right now, me and my property manager.
Yeah.
The obstruction in the liner, the clog, was 100 feet downline from my space. So it's not my space. I just was the highest elevation where it backed out.
Okay.
Right? But they're saying, hey, you got to take care of it. And it's just like, dude, what am I supposed to do when the down line, the main line, is all backed up? And that's what happens when a space sits vacant. The worst thing you can do on a building or a vehicle is let it sit without having any kind of maintenance or any use. So I wasn't prepared for the plumbing issue when I got in there. What I was prepared for was the HVAC, because that's especially in new construction on a bigger building, that's going to be your highest capital expenditure.
Yeah, mechanicals.
Almost always.
Yeah.
And so in this situation, I got in there and I looked it over and I was like, okay, water heaters are trash. So I had them replace all the water heaters. We did inline water heaters, which is great.
So you did all your own TI?
Yes.
At your cost?
Correct.
Whew.
Yeah.
Good deal for them.
Well, I negotiated free rent.
For how long?
6 months.
Okay.
So I got free rent for 6 months. I did the remodel. You know, it's mostly a cosmetic remodel. That gym was not 24 hours like my gyms are.
Yeah.
And so we switched everything out to motion detection, got rid of all the
access control,
got rid of all the halogen bulbs, switched everything to LED. And, you know, pretty much a complete overhaul in regards to lighting and things like that. Aesthetically, though, that was the main overhaul. There was no flooring in there. We repainted a bunch of stuff.
So what are you paying in leases right now on that building?
I'm only at $22,500 a month right now.
I like you say only $22,500.
Well, bro, when I walked that space like 7 years ago now.
How many square feet is that?
It's 25,000, just
so
under.
About $1 a foot.
Yeah.
And that's, you're paying for, what are you paying for besides that? Is it just $22,500?
I negotiated a flat rate, but it escalates over time.
Okay.
Right?
Do you have an option on that one?
I do. I negotiated an option.
Okay, good. That's the smartest thing. Like, if you're listening right now, like, I know you're a real estate guy, so I know that, like, Matt's a talented guy, and so I know you would want to buy something if you're going to own it. So what is the option that you negotiated?
Well, basically, they were, no, and, you know, I let my license expire, but at that time I was a licensed agent.
Yeah.
So I got commission on my lease deal.
Okay, good.
Right? So I negotiated my own, for myself.
Yeah.
And then so I got commission on that deal, and of course I just put it back into the project. But when I first walked that space, I think they wanted like $35K a month, and then over time it escalated to like $45K.
Yeah.
And then when I came back around to walk it again, the price was even higher. And I stopped the agent. I said, listen, I don't want to waste your time. I'm telling you, there's not a chance I'm going to pay that. It's not feasible for me. And they needed to rent it bad. And so I negotiated down. They wanted I think a 10-year lease at like 35. I negotiated down a 5-year with a 5-year option, and $22.50 for the first 2 years. Goes up about two grand every year after that. So we've been in there a little over 2 years now. Yeah.
And what's the option that you have to buy it?
I don't have an option to buy. I just have an option to renew the lease. So I split the lease. Instead of doing a full 10 with them, I did a 5 with a 5-year option.
Okay.
That way.
Do you think you're going to stay?
It's been a pain in my ass. I'll say that. But it's such a good spot.
So wouldn't it make sense to, like, if you don't stay, or if you want to threaten to move, like you're just like, hey, I want to buy you out. Would you know what they paid for the building?
No, in Devon, Troy, I wouldn't want to own a strip center because that's not a standalone.
Yeah.
All my other locations are standalone, and I own them all.
Yeah.
But that's in a strip, and you know vacancy. If that thing isn't 60% leased, you're not making money.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't want that.
But you're a traffic driving location, though. So as a gym in a strip center, you are what everybody wants because you drive massive amounts of traffic.
Tell my property managers that. No,
I mean,
it's true. It's true. Dick's is the anchor.
Okay, well, they don't drive as much traffic as you.
Probably not. But they're a solid entity. And, you know, the one thing when I was negotiating the lease, I said, I need to know how much longer they have on their lease. Because I'm not trying to have them go out, the whole shopping center vacant, and me be the only guy, right? We need some of that organic traffic coming through. So
I like the standalone, though. We've talked about the Las Vegas Athletic Club in the past. I've told you that's where you need to model your shit after.
Yeah.
They just take everybody out. They build their fucking places so damn big. They're all on the, like, call it the 435 out here, but they're on the 215 in Las Vegas, and they're literally sitting so that you can see them right off the freeway, and like you just see this massive 300,000 square foot structure. Okay, So real quick, just so we don't get hung up on this one too much, but like Olathe, you said, is your most profitable one?
Yeah. Liberty is a close second because I own that building. I bought it right, and me and my guys remodeled it ourselves.
Okay.
And then Olathe, we have the member base is larger, but our overhead's higher. So I think Olathe generates about 15% more in take home than Liberty. But I'm paying off an asset in Liberty too. It's a two-edged sword. I got the operating business plus the entity. Separate LLCs, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
Keep that stuff separate.
Yeah.
Don't put them under the same umbrella.
For sure.
So,
for legal reasons and for asset protection reasons, everything like that.
For sure. I mean, case in point, there's a equipment company, Flex Fitness. They made great equipment back in the day.
Yeah.
However, they had no separation. They had one entity. And they got sued, and it killed the whole company.
Yeah.
Whereas if somebody gets hurt in the parking lot, maybe that's just on the structure. Maybe that's just on that entity, or maybe
actually separate entity per building.
Correct. So each business that I have, except for Olathe, because I don't own that, there's 2 LLCs for each location.
Yeah.
You have the operating business,
Yep.
which is the Foundation Liberty or the Foundation Manhattan or the Foundation Westport.
That's the company.
Right. And then I have a holding company that I have the real estate in, and the operating business pays rent to the holding company, right?
Yeah,
For
it's
the
just
real
all
estate.
paper.
It is, but it makes it a hell of a lot harder for a greedy attorney to come and attack you. And I've had that happen.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, dude. It's inevitable.
I had my biggest, my toughest year, and I can't talk about like the particulars, but I wrote a check for over $500,000 to an attorney who got me over something that I could have settled for $4,500.
Damn.
So that was a big lesson for me, like just called like settle shit even if you're right, because I fight it on principle. I know you and I are the same type of guy. Like
no, dude, and I've learned the hard way as well. Like the thing is, guys, when you get sued, I've never had a legitimate case brought against me.
Yeah.
It's always people.
Me either.
They see that you're doing something and you're doing well, or you're perceived to be doing well.
Yeah.
And they want to hit it. They want some of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And the thing is
fuck you guys. Exactly. Those people who do that, I've had it happen probably 4 times.
Yeah.
Just recently, actually.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Well, even though everybody knows that you're right and you can prove your point, you still have to get there. You still have legal fees. And that's the problem is I've started to, not start to, I'll fight. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you got to consider what your carrying cost is to finish that deal, to get to the finish line. Because you may be getting sued for $20,000, but your legal fees to beat and win is $50,000, right? So,
well, general liability insurance is probably the best thing that I can tell people to get, because that was my big lesson on that one. I didn't have general liability insurance on my business. And if I would have had that, I would have been covered. Mm-hmm. Or on that flip, right? On whatever it was. And then you get so caught up in the fight, because I think you and I, we had some war stories. Matt's a scrapper, I'm a scrapper. Like, you have no problem going hooks with someone. Right. I don't have a problem going hooks with someone. And that's what you need in business. You need to be tough. You need to be able to fight. And a lot of times, it's just better to settle things, even if you're wrong.
Sometimes it is. It's hard to do. Yeah. I don't lie. I'm a God-fearing man. I do not do anybody dirty.
Yeah.
And so when people bring things against you, it's hard not to take it personally, right? This is the foundation, 24-Hour Gyms, but that's me as well, right? Yeah. So it's hard not to take it personally. You do have to think strategy, though. Like, okay, what if, even if say I win, and even if you get awarded legal fees and damages,
how do you collect?
If they don't have any money, you're never going to get it. Yeah. Right?
So the justice system is not just. I can just tell you that. The case that I lost, what I will tell you is this: I never had a day in court. Like, I literally got a default judgment because my attorney or my bookkeeper sat on a piece of paperwork, which I could have sued him for, but he's a good friend of mine, so I wasn't going to do it. But I never got served. We got defaulted, and they literally settled it because the judge was on the take. And I took it to the Supreme Court.
The thing is, though, we learn from this stuff, right?
Yeah,
like, that's the only takeaway for me. Like, I think one of my first lawsuits ever, I employed a guy who in college was the president of a fraternity, and they put a new roof on the fraternity, and they never paid their bill. 8 years later, statute of limitations should have ran out, but his vice president made a small payment towards it. So it opened it back up. I guess we got a letter, I missed it, that we were supposed to garnish his wage or something like that. And so the next thing I know, I'm get a subpoena to be in court or served to go to court.
Because you hired a guy.
Because I hired him and I didn't do any of the garnish his wages, right? I didn't know what that was. You know what I mean? That was my first business, really. And so I went to court.
You should call this podcast War Stories.
Bro,
yeah.
I went to court and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go. This is pretty easy to explain. This isn't my debt. It's in another town. It was in Lawrence. I'm in Manhattan. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just going to go tell the judge. Well, apparently, if you have an LLC, you can't represent yourself in this situation.
Oh, yeah.
So I got default judgment against me. I had to pay $10,000 for something I had hardly any knowledge of. But I definitely don't miss those letters anymore. And if somebody has a wage garnishment, you better believe I'm going to comply.
Yeah.
So that was a lesson learned.
Money teaches good lessons.
Yeah, and the same thing with, you get sued from a patron or an employee or somebody gets hurt. One thing I learned is to really understand my insurance policy. Make sure that not just if a member or a patron sues me, that the insurance has to cover it. But if there's an issue with a staff member, I'll make this quick. This one was a real pain in my ass. But I had a gal. She was part-time working in my Manhattan location. Mm-hmm. She got out of the reserves for disability. Yeah. But she joked about it all the time how she's taking advantage of it. Right? She wasn't disabled.
Right.
That's pretty common with the military stuff. Whatever. Should have seen that as a red flag. She ends up getting. I had come to Manhattan or to Kansas City and Westport to build that location, so I wasn't there all the time seeing her. But she got pregnant by some soldier who was at the time was married to a stripper. Not that matters. Everybody can do their own thing.
Yeah.
But it kind of shows the character level.
Yeah.
And she comes to me and she says, "Hey, I'm pregnant. I was wondering, I had an Airbnb in that town."
Yeah.
She's like, "I was wondering, it's a cool house. It's neat.
Yeah.
I built it myself.
Yeah.
It's different, right?"
Yeah.
She's like, "I'd like to use your house for my baby shower." I was like, "Okay. Yeah, whatever." I didn't charge her anything. That's a $350 a day house.
Yeah.
Didn't charge her. And then a week later, she comes back around and says, "I was wondering if you'd pay me maternity leave." And I said, "Well, I'm pretty sure you're part-time. That's not part of the arrangement. But I also I want this to go well for you, and I want you to come back." So I called the Kansas Department of Labor. They said, "Absolutely not. You do not have to. You don't have to pay her anything."
She's shaking you down.
So I went to her and I said, "I don't have to pay anything, but I also want to take care of you. I understand the situation. I'm not a heartless guy.
Yeah.
But no good deed goes unpunished, Troy."
Yeah, for sure.
So I was like, "Yeah, I'll give you 6 weeks paid leave," and that was it. And granted, she's part-time. She doesn't make that much money, right? I think it was like $2,500. So it wasn't a big deal. And I was trying to help somebody out. Yeah. And, her issue was she wouldn't tell me the day when she was going to take maternity leave. Yeah. And I kept, months and months would go by. I was finally like, "Hey, we got to figure this out. I have to have somebody to be in your place, right?" Yeah. And so I finally just set the date. And she had a different date in mind after I said it. She said she wanted to work 2 weeks longer. And I brought in another person that she was supposed to help train to bring up to speed so we could be fine in her absence. Well, this gentleman who's with me now, and he's one of my best guys, but this is early on, he told her, he said, "I'm gonna take your job." And it drove her crazy to the point where she threw a fit, stormed out of the building. She still had 2 more days of work before her leave started. Yeah. And I had already agreed. She was so upset that she couldn't work the extra 2 weeks. I said, "I'll give you 8 weeks of leave." But she was causing problems with the other staff. Yeah.
Just one of those things you should have got rid of her a while ago.
I should have. And so following that, I called her. She wouldn't take my calls, text her. She wouldn't text me back. Well, in the meantime, she filed a, unemployment claim. 2 of them, actually. She got in trouble because she made 2 different emails. And then she filed a Kansas Human Rights Commission claim against me. That me as a person and as a business discriminated against her as a pregnant woman and a veteran. And so I went through the whole process with the Kansas Department of Labor. I had that hearing. They found me at no fault, and she actually had to pay back the extra that they paid her. Yeah. But then the Kansas Human Rights Commission, dude, I don't know if it's still the same way now, but I never met this guy, but I'm imagining purple hair and nose piercings and crazy woke shit, right? Yeah. But so when I first started that process, I got one gentleman. He was fine. You know, he was very matter of fact. It's like, oh, this is just kind of a technicality. We'll just work through it. Well, I went with that process with him almost a year. Gave him everything they needed. Then he either got promoted or fired, and they put another person on the case. And they said, now we're starting over. So I went through another 6 months with him, and this guy was just trying to find something, right?
Yeah.
And during this time, I was dealing with I put my wife in rehab.
Yeah.
And my mom had cancer.
Yeah, a lot going on.
And I had a ton going on, and it was just, I finally told him, I was like, man, I've given you everything I got. And he's like, I need records from all your businesses, not just this gym, all your other gyms and your other businesses. And I said, I'm not giving you that. There's no reason for that.
Yeah.
They're separate entities. Mm-hmm. And I said, I can't keep doing this with you guys. It's been a year and a half. Mm-hmm. Make whatever decision you got to make. So a month went by, I got a letter in the mail. They found no fault. But since I stopped cooperating, they said that there is probable cause. They found no issue. But when an attorney sees probable cause from the Kansas Human Rights Commission, they think dollar signs, right?
Yeah.
So I got sued by them for that. They sued me for, I think it was $115,000, which if she would have got that pay, it would have been $2,500.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah.
And we did nothing. Actually, we took good care of her. We said, don't go up and down any stairs. Don't move anything in the gym. You just do your thing.
Yeah.
So long story short, I fought that for a while. Ended up with about $50,000 in attorney fees. And eventually, after fighting her for about a year, we had a mediation. And they went from 100 and whatever, the initial claim, to, we'll take 17.5. And I was just like, dude, this is a shakedown, And at the end of the day, even then I said no. And then when we were getting ready, they asked again about 2 weeks later. I was like, fine, take it.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. So she got her 17.5, probably ended up with about 10 grand for her, 7,500 for the attorney. But at the end of the day, I had to keep moving. I had business stuff going, and personal life was a real struggle at that time.
Yeah.
So you do what you got to do, but it is a part of business, and guys, expect it.
Yeah.
It will come.
Yeah.
It's a sign of success.
Yeah, if you're moving and shaking, and I used to be the aggressor. Like early on, I was suing people, and like people who fucked me over or whatever. I'd come after them, and then I remember a guy telling me, he's like, unless you file the lawsuit, they're never going to do anything. And then as I became more successful and read more books, people were like, just avoid them. Just avoid lawsuits. Get people to go away. And I've learned after fighting that one where I took it all the way to the Supreme Court and I was right and I'd never even had anything, I'm like, and then I find out that the guy who's suing me's dad was on the Supreme Court, knows the judge, and I'm like, and everybody thinks, I know you growing up, you probably think the same way, that the justice system's just and that you'll prevail if you're right. At least I thought that. But then you think about this before the civil rights movement, all those people who, if they were black, they got locked up, or if they were this, they got locked up, and you realize, no, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Mm. And if you don't know the right people, if you don't know the judge, and if that attorney's having cocktails with that judge, and they're doing a deal behind the door, and we've seen all this with the Trump administration, with him 34 felony counts for fucking nothing, that's how it works. And yeah, if you're just a regular number going through that, it's probably not going to affect you. But if that person knows someone,
sure,
you're getting screwed.
Yeah, it's not, by the letter of the law.
No.
And
people are above the law.
Yeah.
And some people, and then it's basically, if you know the right people, you can pretty much get away with everything. And if you don't know, and if you have nothing to lose, then you can take from other people who have got stuff to lose.
That's the thing. They have nothing to lose.
Right.
And if they lose, they have nothing to give.
Yeah.
So it's a shit sandwich either way, and you got to take a bite. Yeah. You're either going to pay an attorney and see it to the finish line, or you're going to pay out and save yourself time.
Yeah, but I'll give you one tip that I think is great that anybody that works, and I think you realize this with your last situation, which we'll touch on a little bit later, and I think I told you about this, humiliation is a human emotion that works better than any lawsuit. And once you air out someone's dirty laundry that they're doing, I had a guy who ripped me off from a property management standpoint out here, and he wouldn't pay me back. I asked him to pay me back. He said he was going to pay me back, and finally I put a website about him. I wrote JeremyBeIsAThief.com. And I've done this multiple times, and it works better than any lawyer.
Yeah.
Just buying that person's name and writing out what they did, and it's the freedom of speech, and you're protected by it. As long as you're not putting up bullshit,
right?
It humiliates them. And every single lawsuit I've settled that way, the biggest negotiating tactic I had was a $10 website I bought off GoDaddy that said like Matt Karstetter sucks or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, and most people don't own their own name. And so if they don't own their own name, sucks or is a liar.
Sure.
And so that's my tip to anybody. If you're really trying to put something to somebody, just air out their dirty laundry if you got it. Because otherwise it just has to get decided in front of a judge.
Right. It's one thing for, I do not lie, right? That's who I am. I don't lie. Yeah. But it's one thing for a person to lie in a mediation or in front of the judge. It's another when the world knows. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to say is like that nobody, I think the fear of embarrassment is the biggest fear. Nobody likes getting embarrassed.
Right.
And so
everybody
goes back to that childhood thing when you're like a kid and you don't get picked on the playground, it's embarrassing. Or if you're like the worst athlete, or if you're standing up in front of the teacher and you're giving a speech. Yeah. And so it goes back to that very, very human emotion of, I don't want to be embarrassed. Like, I think everybody, we all don't want to be embarrassed. And so when you can get something on someone and you know it's true and you know the dirt and you know it and you're willing to put it out on the internet and you own the website, they're going to cave.
Yeah. The two positive takeaway, and I'm sure you feel the same, is these situations do make you reevaluate how you have things set up.
Yes.
And you make improvements to cover you in the future.
Liability insurance is what I just said. Like,
and making sure it applies to more than just one avenue of your business, right?
Right.
It just depends on the type of business. But any time you're dealing with patrons and staff, that's two different avenues you got to consider, right?
Right.
Because people are people. Everybody has a different personality. Some people are morally sound, some people aren't.
Yeah.
The second takeaway from that is, and this gives me a little bit of peace of mind, is, dude, karma comes back to you. You know what I mean?
Sometimes you got to help it.
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes you got to help it along.
But I think about it, it's like, okay, this gal got $17,500 of my money. Okay? And I don't even remember her last name now. In 5 years, I'll never even remember this happened. Yeah. This is probably one of the biggest events in her entire life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is monumental for her. That is not to say that she's not going to, you don't get away with anything in this life. If you're a good person, that's the best way to operate. But if you do dirt, expect it to hit you again. You may not understand, may not correlate the two, but it comes back to you. That's just the way the world works. So you put that energy out there, it's going to be reciprocated one way or another in some point in time.
Yeah, and I think more important than that, what you're trying to say is that each failure that you make in business teaches you way more than any success that you're ever going to have. And whether we like to admit it, these are failures on our part because we could have done something to prevent it. Like I could have done so many different things on that lawsuit that happened that even going through it, like I could have moved my LLCs around so the guys had nothing to attack. But I'm like, not knowing and trying to operate legitimately, and like you're not supposed to move stuff around if you're in a lawsuit, but you totally can. Yeah. Just FYI, like it's hard for them to do it. But I should have had liability insurance and should have done it that way. And then the statute of limitations passed. I could have sued the attorney who screwed up, but I went so far along. So like you learn all of these things from going through something like that. That if you walk away, and I got so dang angry that I got to the point where I'm going to win no matter what. And I think you know what that means. Like, and I'm like, okay. I actually hired that person who sued me to be my attorney to make sure that he never got me again. Because I'm like, I'm getting so mad that I'm starting to see.
Now there's a client relationship that he cannot take on anybody else to pursue you. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, because if you're getting so mad where you want to just win no matter what, then it's like, okay, I need to like cool off because I'm just fighting to win now no matter what. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to freaking do whatever I got to do. And I'm like, okay. I want to go back to the gym. So Olathe is the most profitable gym. If you go into the I-29 build, what does that look like in your head right now?
Well, I mean, it's fully drawn.
Okay, so what's it look like?
Yeah, so this building is something I've been working on for a while.
Yeah.
When I first came to Kansas City before I bought Westport, I was under contract to buy a 3-acre lot on 87th and 435.
Okay.
I was the last lot in that development, and there was a Sprouts next door. There was City Center, Caddy Corner.
Okay.
And it's very modern.
Yeah.
But they said my building was too modern industrial for the area. They wanted me to match the Sprouts, which is green accent metal roofs, tan stucco. I was like, nah, that's not what I want to do. Ended up finally just backing out of that deal, and then as a constellation, I went and bought the Westport building, right?
Right.
So I've already had the design, but now being in this area where I'm at off 29, I wanted to sex it up a little bit.
Where are you at on 29? Because I live right off 29.
So it's Roan Ridge is the road is through there.
Are you by Discount Tire over there?
Correct. It's right,
So you're
literally
close to Berry Road.
Yeah, literally across the street from Main Event. So
Yeah, right by top tee shots.
Main Event, Texas Roadhouse. We're right on 29, so the visibility is crazy.
There was that facility for sale for a while. I think I even sent you a video as I was driving by. Like somebody was planning on building a gym there at one point in time.
Yes, exactly. So
because I saw that sign, gym coming soon.
That land is owned by the Jones Group.
Okay.
Great guys. They've been awesome to work with. But they owned One Life, which is right here.
Yeah.
For a long time. Well, Genesis being Genesis, they control the market. So if you don't know Genesis, they're out of Wichita. They've been around for 20, 25 years. But their main mode is they acquire and rebrand, and they take over existing gyms. They buy out. So they bought out the rights of One Life. So now that's a Genesis. It's not a One Life anymore.
Yep. And he's pointing right down the street.
Yeah.
Which it's a nice gym.
Well, yeah, because
it was a One Life.
It was One Life.
Yeah.
And they literally just changed the logo and generally changed the price. Mm-hmm. And they also got rights to build, because the guys who own One Life also own with the Jones Group.
So they bought out One Life entirely, because doesn't One Life have one in St. Louis too? I think I saw it.
I don't know.
I think it was,
when
I was in St. Louis by that ballpark.
Okay.
I saw One Life there.
Possible.
Okay.
But so the Jones Group was going to build a One Life there. Genesis, in Kansas City, they bought out all the 24-hour fitnesses, basically from here to St. Louis.
Okay.
And they're doing that to control the market.
Yeah.
And that's like my space in Olathe. They took it. One thing they do as well is they take over leases, knowing they're going to not honor the lease. They'll go in, they'll take, there's a property that they left. They took the rooftop units off. They took the drinking fountains off the wall. They took a transformer from one of them. And one of the spaces I walked, it'd been getting rained in for a year.
Yeah.
Dude, the basketball floor had swelled to 4 feet tall because of all the moisture.
Yeah.
And they do this knowing they're going to end up in litigation.
Yeah.
Right? But that's part of the model, I guess. Now, I'm making assumptions. I don't know these guys personally.
Yeah, allegations.
This is what I've seen.
Yeah.
And so the same thing happened to the Olathe location. But they had the right to build on this area where I am going to build for Zona Rosa.
What's the footprint of the lot?
It's 2.78 acres.
2.78 acres. You're going to put a standalone building.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, they had the rights to build. They never intended to. After 12 months per the contract, if they don't execute construction or begin construction, they forfeit it. Mm-hmm. So you've been watching it. I've been watching that lot for 3 years. As soon as I realized that they were not building.
Yeah, I think I sent you a video driving on my car one day. I was like, hey.
Yeah, I'd been watching that site, and you obviously saw it too. You live up there. The visibility is awesome.
Oh, hell yeah. I think that's going to be your best one.
I hope so, because it's expensive as hell.
All right, so let's talk about that. So how big is the building?
Just under 31,000 square feet.
Ooh, you got to go bigger.
I can't, dude.
Why?
I can afford it.
Okay. Well, maybe we could figure out a deal. I'm interested in that one. I would partner with you on that one.
Okay. Well, I've had you in mind if it comes to it.
I want to do an LVAC type of style out here.
This one you'll dig it.
Okay.
It's amazing. So all the exterior, it's either going to be precast or tilt up, so they're going to be concrete walls.
Yeah.
And it's a parallelogram, so it goes like this, right? So it's a single slope roof, and it tapers down at the back. It's
totally modern.
Yeah, 36 feet on the front, 22 feet on the back, tapers down, right? The whole face is glass, and then it's in thirds. The first third of the building is a true two-story. So you'll walk in, lobby to my right, I'm gonna have Prime Recovery and Wellness. To the left, we'll have the kids area.
Okay.
And then go past the smoothie bar, and you're into the main gym. You can take an elevator to the second floor, or you walk up the stairs. Then the main gym floor is about 12,000 square feet. That's where all the gym equipment will be. Then on the second level, you have cardio and then a running track around the top. And then you have group fitness. I have an office up there. We have a conference room. And then the back third is truly functional fitness. And we're going to host powerlifting meets there. Events.
You know what you need to do in there? You need to partner with Power Life Yoga and get them to get a location in there.
Okay. I'm with it. I'm going to bring in a lot of subcontractor or a lot of
like just thinking like I'm a big fan of their operation. They don't have anything up in the north. I think they would do it. You could work up, and they have a really good like model.
Well, I'm going to partner with maybe a chiropractor as well because we have extra space in Prime. The Prime's going to be phenomenal there.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So what's it gonna? So it's 33,000 feet right now. You said
it's about 31,000 square feet.
31,000, and are you putting a tracker or anything in there like that?
Yeah, I got a running tracker on the top.
Okay, I'm sold right now, dude.
Bro,
I've been telling you this is what I've been wanting to do.
This is something that's been in my brainchild for 7 years.
I've been wanting to do a gym. Since I met you, I've been wanting to do a gym with you. Dude, I'm okay. I wonder if we did 2 SBA loans on it. Like if we could do 2 separate businesses and like do it that way.
I'm not sure.
Like that would be a question to like if you're like, because if you had 2 separate LLCs, and one is, call it Prime Recovery, and one is the Foundation Gym.
Sure. Well, I am doing that. We do it, and then the Prime Recovery will pay rent to Roan Ridge Holdings.
But I'm talking about Prime Recovery is the building aspect of that part of the gym. So then the construction loan goes under Prime Recovery, and then one construction loan goes under the Foundation.
Yeah, but with SBA, I think you can only sublet like 10%, something like that, right?
No. I'm talking like you condo it out from a real estate standpoint. So that there's 2 condos. One is for the Foundation, because what's the max for SBA?
$5 million.
So if you've got now 10 million, because the Prime is able to buy their space.
I think you'd have trouble getting approved for the other $5 million because the space is only like 2,000 square feet, right?
But no, what I'm saying is just now Prime subleads 49% of it to the Foundation.
Well, and it would technically be owner occupied because I own both businesses, right? But here's the thing, it still has to cash flow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At 10 million, it's not going to cash flow. It might barely, right?
Yeah.
So
what does it need to how many members does it need to cash flow?
If any other gym owners are watching this, tune out. I don't need to tell you my inside info, but that building right now, so I get appraised at, I think a little over 7 million. And
how much is it going to cost you to build?
It should cost me $5 million to build, but it's the construction around here. The guys are super proud. Like the bids I've been getting.
Holy shit! You are not lying, bro.
They really are, and especially now you're dealing with union guys too on the steel fabrication, things of that nature. Erection.
Can you do it without steel though?
Well, that's the thing. So
because steel's expensive as shit.
So I'm kind of switching gears. I was planning on breaking ground in April.
Okay.
But now my game plan is I'm just going to secure the land, and I'm going to take extra time to shop contractors. I'm going to start bringing in guys from Oklahoma and Texas, guys that can travel to do glazing or they can do steel erection for the mezzanines, things like that. But so my plan now
is... They did the same thing with Whataburger down the road over there on Ambassador. All those guys were brought in from out of state. And he's right, Kansas City, Missouri. One thing that you don't know about Kansas City, Missouri, the cost of living is low, but guys get paid well. It's like a hidden thing that nobody understands about here, and I didn't figure it out because I'm looking at these houses and thinking, these houses are cheap, the construction is going to be cheap. Generally, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
The guys in the trades out here get paid well.
Well, I recognize that real early with Westport. There is, they got enough work, you know what I mean? And these guys can pick and choose the jobs. So there's guys, they would come in, they'd rather bid 10 projects high and get 2 of them than bid 10 projects at an industry standard and get them all. Yeah. And that's capitalism. I get it. Yeah. Okay. And I hire them when I can, but I also will never hire them again. When the tables turn, I'm not going to forget that. I'm going to remember you met me over on this deal and I had no other option. But now I have other options and I'll never work with you again. So you got to consider, are you trying to do this? Is this a long play for this company? Yeah. Or they just see you as a one-time, meal and they're going to suck you for as much as you can get? That's just the way it is.
So what do you think the cost of material is? Because then it boils down to labor, right? So obviously the glass is going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah. Anytime you go curtain wall, so storefront and curtain wall, they kind of look the same. They can look the same. Yeah. But anything over 12 or 13 feet structurally has to be curtain wall. Curtain wall's a lot more expensive. Right. In my situation, I have a 36-foot face of a building, so I'm going to do 2/3 of it in curtain wall, right?
What break down a curtain wall? The only time I've heard anybody say curtain wall is Donald Trump.
Okay. So yeah, it's glazing or windows, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it can look the same. Sometimes curtain wall can just be sheets of glass hung on brackets, and it looks really sexy.
Yeah.
But it's super expensive. But what a lot of times you're seeing is it's storefront or curtain wall. Storefront is what you see when you walk into any local business. You go into Quick Trip, you know, the glass there, that's storefront because it doesn't have a lot of structure that needs to carry any load.
Right.
But once you get past 13 feet in height, 12 foot in height, you have to have structure built in, and so you have to switch to curtain wall, and it's a lot more expensive.
Okay.
So if you can stay in the threshold of 12 foot or less for your glazing, you're going to save money, right?
So are we looking? So what are you looking for right now? Because we got a podcast. We're gonna have a lot of eyeballs on this. What kind of trades do you need to get in here? Because we know Houston, Texas is close to us.
Right.
Their guys are cheap over there.
Right. Yeah, it's mainly labor that I'm looking to bring in.
But what kind of labor?
Well, you know, erectors. Anybody can stand up, tilt in place, or precast. Generally, precast, we'll hire other erectors. Tilt in place is done on site. That's the two differences. Precast is formed in a shop off-site and shipped in, and then erected. And usually it's a little bit better finish because you don't have to worry about the elements. You're in a climate-controlled space, right?
Yeah.
So in my case, I'm switching to tilt up because we're going to be doing this in good weather.
Yeah, you just pour it out on the job site.
Correct, but you have to have a lot of area around to have these as staging areas, right?
Yeah, watch them do it with the Ace Hardware over there. You know, the big Ace storage space off 29? Have you seen that one? If you haven't seen it, it's the biggest building in Kansas City.
I don't think so. Okay.
Dude, you'd recognize it. It looked like a biggest warehouse. You literally drive for 2 miles and it's their whole fulfillment center.
Okay.
It looks like the biggest super Walmart you've ever seen.
Right on. And I guarantee you that's probably tilt up.
It is.
Yeah, so tilt up, you don't have to pay to ship it in.
Yep.
But the thing is, the guys who pour it generally are the ones who erect it. You know, not a lot of guys want to take on other people's work, even though precast is that way. It's just a little bit different.
How does it work? How long do they have to cure the concrete for? So obviously they got to form it up.
So in my situation, they're going to be sandwich panels. So they're going to be one side they'll pour.
Yep.
I think it's probably 4 inches of concrete, 3 inches of concrete. I'm not sure. Then you have an insulation layer, and then they pour the other side. Tilts up. You know, one side is going to have a better finish than the other generally.
Right.
So if it's face down, sometimes they can spin it, you know, so the nice side's out or inside. But you're going to get a better finish with precast.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll do a light sandblasting on it too, so it's all uniform. Mm-hmm. You know, tilt up is going to look more like a cast in place wall.
Yeah.
So you're going to see some deviation.
Right.
And so really the main element in considering tilt up versus precast is, do you have the space to stage everything?
Yeah.
If you do, great. And then what's the weather going to do to you?
Yeah.
You know, because the concrete is, you know, in the winter, tilt up would be difficult. You have to add calcium to, you know, so it cures correctly, right?
Yeah.
In the summer, they have to add water to the mix so it doesn't set immediately. So there's more variables to control, but it's more cost effective because it's on site and, you know, it's not.
So we need some tilt up guys.
Tilt up's kind of the way things have been going. You're seeing precast on high end.
Yeah.
And when I design this,
you gotta ship that. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You probably can only do so much size.
It's generally a little bit lighter if you do precast than tilt in place. So sometimes if you do tilt in place, your foundation has to be beefed up.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah, and so
Is there a certain PSI you need on that?
Yeah, but it's going to depend on if it's load bearing or not.
Okay.
You know, for my project, it's structural.
Right.
It's not just aesthetic. So I don't know offhand what the PSI is. That's the engineer's job. But it is structural. So in this situation, we're going to have tilt up or precast on the three sides. The sides and the back, the front's all glass. And then we have a steel mezzanine around top with poured concrete on top of that.
Okay.
Now.
So there's 2 floors.
Correct. There's 2 floors.
Okay.
And so I mentioned tariffs earlier. Starting next month, there's going to be a tariff on a few different countries, but for steel, you're looking at Mexico and China. Mm-hmm. So now all these prices, and keep in mind, guys, when you get bids on steel, you're going to see a clause in there, an escalation clause, that if prices of material go up, they can renegotiate their price. Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, that means 2 things. I either wait till the market stabilizes,
yeah,
which is why I just said, forget construction right now, let's just secure the land.
Yeah.
Or pivot to concrete, because the price of concrete, yeah, that'll go up a little bit, but you're not importing concrete.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You may.
What's a yard of concrete? $1.75. It's about $1.75.
Yeah. For tilt up, you're looking at about $30 to $40 a square foot. For precast, you're looking at about $45 to $55 a square foot.
Okay.
Now that's erected.
So you're not. So they're not grabbing a truck from like Cemex and pouring it from there. They're mixing it on the site.
Yeah, I mean, on a huge job, you'll see they'll bring in their own mixer.
Yeah.
And they'll mix it on site.
Yeah.
For my project, it's a good amount of wall, but it's not enough to bring in your own plant, right? Mm-hmm. So they'll bring in trucks, they'll pour it. In the plant where they do precast, they have all that set up, right? So they can really dial in the mix and control everything. But yeah, tilt up's going to be more cost effective. You just have a little bit more liability in regards to weather.
So it's going to cost you $5 million to build it.
Well, that's the way it should be. But, so one thing I wanted to point out is historically, Denver, Colorado has kind of been the highest in the Midwest for construction, right? Mm-hmm. So I have a friend of mine who they built a project in Denver. It went great. The owner said, hey, they immediately pivoted to, I want one in Kansas City. And they said now their cost is 8% higher here over Denver. Mm. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild. And what that shows inflation to me. That shows the prices are inflated is what I mean. So that's why I'm like, all right, I can't just rely on local contractors.
Yeah, you can't.
And for me, that's why I'm just going to secure the lot rather than get the full line of credit.
And then you'll be your own GC there?
Yeah, I'm my own GC. I'm a real estate. I acted as my agent on this deal too, so I got a commission. I just put it against the deal, so brought my purchase price down. Because I mean, whether I get paid as a realtor or if it goes back in the deal, it's all mine anyways.
Yeah.
And plus, I did pay income tax on it if I got it paid out. So I put it towards the deal, and then I am a licensed GC. I have been since.
Me too.
2000.
Not a good one. You know more about construction than me, but.
Well, enough to be dangerous, right? And I did construction growing up and in college. So for me, it was a means to an end. I really do love construction, but the stress of it is terrible. So I only build, I did a med spa in Leawood for a customer, but since that was in 2020, since then I only do my own projects. So it's a means to an end. It's a way for me to be vertically integrated, right?
Yeah.
And because on the construction side, as a GC, they're going to get 6 to 8%, right? On $5 million.
Yeah.
That's a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
So that's the cost I don't have to pay.
Yeah.
Now it means I got to know what I'm talking about, and I got to be able to run a project, which I can. This is nothing. This building's unique. It's cool, but it's not.
It's a gym. You probably know
we're
more
not
about
reinventing the wheel. It's not a hospital, right?
Yeah.
So
you're going to dial in the locker rooms. Everything's going to be dope. This is going to be your best location.
It will be, and the beauty of it is it'll all be warranted. Everything will be designed. There's no retrofitting. It's designed exactly how I need it. So the maintenance is going to be nil. Yeah. At least initially for the first 5 years, right? So that is a huge relief because that takes a lot of time and money to deal with those problems.
How many members will you need to be profitable?
I'll probably need 1,200 members to break even, which is no problem. That we'll pre-enroll that many, right? That's another strategy, guys. If you're opening a gym, not trying to make you my competition, but pre-enroll is huge. As soon as we break ground, we're going to start pre-enrolling, and it works for me because we have brand recognition in Kansas City.
How many members do you have at Olathe?
A couple thousand.
So yeah, that'll be no problem because in the Northland there is no good gym. You have Genesis by me, which is in a strip center.
Honestly, and that's their worst one they have.
It is. It's terrible.
It's garbage.
Yeah, and you being on I-29 is going to be a major thing. Plus, you're close to everything right there. Like you're close to, you kind of soak up almost everybody, which I'm about everybody from Platte City. And everybody from north of the river. Like you basically soak up all of that.
Yeah, Platte City, Platte Woods, Parkville, Tiffany Springs. Yeah. We'll pull that area.
I don't think you're gonna have a problem hitting 12.
Well, we won't. Yeah. But here's the deal. You gotta one thing I've also learned in owning gyms is you gotta expect competition.
Yeah.
We will come in and dominate that area.
Yeah.
But in Manhattan, as soon as I opened up that one, a Genesis announcer going to build one over on the hill. Okay, whatever. I love going against Genesis because we're a great alternative for them. It may fit the bill for some people, but for what we offer, it's just next level, right?
Yeah.
We're really good at what we do. We don't have we don't have the pool, we don't have those amenities, but we have saunas, we have ice bath and prime. We have the best equipment you're going to find.
Man, I am so happy that you turned into the Millionaire Mentorship Podcast. It's something that I've been working on for over 3 years right now. We're up to 150 podcast episodes. A lot of them are virtual. A lot of them are in studio, which is what we prefer. If you have a guest that you think that should be on our podcast, all you got to do is comment who it is. And we'll reach out to them, or if you want to reach out to them and reach out to us, we'd love to have them on the show. We're looking for entertaining, inspirational people that, just like you hear on the podcast every week, that can bring value and help our listening audience achieve their goals. If that's something for you, comment down below and let us know. Let's transition over to Prime Recovery.
Okay.
Because that is, I think, going to be the biggest moneymaker that you got. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, the cool thing about Prime is, so right now we have 2 physical locations, and they're both in my gyms, right?
Yeah.
Eventually we probably will have standalones, but we're kind of switched the model. We're in 46 states now, 46 or 47, and so we do telemedicine.
Right.
So telemedicine is beautiful because, I employ a lot of doctors and a lot of nurse practitioners, and they...
what does that business look like? Like, break that down. I've just dealt with your people who are fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
And if somebody wants to get, and we'll go into, I got a bunch of questions that I want to ask you about this. This is where we're going to pivot to and go through all the growth hormones and the TRTs and everything. Like, you are an expert. Like, if you think he knows a lot about construction, wait till you talk about this shit. Okay?
It's just stuff that I'm passionate about, you know what I mean?
So talk about the business real quick, and then I want to go into drugs.
Okay.
So tell me how the business is set up. Like, how many people do you got working for you? What does that look like?
So we have 2 physical locations now.
Okay.
We'll have a 3rd in the Zona Rosa property.
Okay.
The physical locations are True Med Spa.
Right.
So of course you can go in, you can get IVs. We have immunity IVs. We have skin.
Red cell therapy?
Red light therapy?
Yep.
We don't have that.
Okay.
No, we will.
Got it.
In Zona Rosa, we'll have red light therapy, and we're going to do stem cell therapy as well.
Got it.
We have a doctor that's great with stem cells. Was formerly employed by the government to fly around and get soldiers back into action sooner. He was one of 3 physicians. So we're going to do stem cells in Zona Rosa, but right now our physical locations are a True Med Spa. You can get a massage, you can get lip filler, you can get Botox, you can get TRT, HRT, any peptide you need.
Okay.
So it's a True Med Spa. Our telemedicine is a little different because you got to remember, we can't physically see this person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So our telemedicine is primarily hormone therapy, testosterone for men, hormone therapy for women. So that's testosterone, progesterone, estrogen. Not everybody needs all those things. Women have they're a little more involved. Men are pretty simple.
We just need TRT.
We need testosterone, and we need to make sure our estrogen is where it needs to be.
All right, so let's go into that. So I want to get ripped. I'm a dude. I want to do the least amount of effort, right? That's what most of us want. We want the least effort for the best results.
Well, the nice thing about testosterone is it makes you pursue effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes you dig it. It makes you it releases those endorphins. So for me, I've been on testosterone for 20 years.
Okay.
In the past, as a bodybuilder,
I've only been on it for 2. And I've been on with you guys, I think, for 6-8 months now.
At least.
At least.
Yeah.
Is it that long now?
It's been a while.
Okay.
Dude, you and I think the same way. I think it's a month ago, and it's no, dude, that was last October.
I think I'm only on my second round of testosterone.
Okay.
So 10 weeks each cycle.
You came in and you did your consult a long time ago.
I did, yeah. I was using hormone therapy in Overland Park before I knew you had one.
Okay.
And then I called you up, and I got right with you because I'd rather do business with you. B, you make it easy because it's telehealth versus
Right.
I was having to drive to the location in Overland Park once a week
Sure.
on 95th. But going into so testosterone makes you pursue effort. Number one, I'm gonna tell you, I have high testosterone in general. When I got tested, I was at 700 already.
Right, which is great.
Which is great, but that doesn't mean that I'm feeling the energy level
Yeah.
or I'm as horny as I want to be. And I am telling you, when you take testosterone, you feel like an 18-year-old boy again.
Well, the thing is it's not everybody's the same, right?
Yeah.
There's guys like yourself that can be at 600 or 700 and still feel symptomatic, right? But what a lot of people don't know is the normal range is 300 to 1,000. And I'm telling you, anything under 500 is low. That's my opinion. Yeah. But so some guys would feel great at 700, some guys won't. You know, you wanted to be at the top of normal. So that's closer to 900 or to 1,000. Yeah. And that's where I like to operate too.
I think I'd like to be more.
Bro, when I was bodybuilding, I was off the charts. But once you get to the super physiological doses like that, that's when you get to the point of diminishing return. The higher the dose, the more responsibility.
So how many, I always have trouble with this stuff because you live in it, but I don't understand it as much. I've got the needle here. It says 1 or 0.5 or whatever. I think normal levels are like 200. You're supposed to be taking 200, but twice a week is probably the optimal way to go.
Yeah, so let me backtrack and start with the process and then get to that. So generally, our process is if you've had blood work done in the last 90 days and it fits the markers we need, we can accept that. And then you'll just go into a consultation with the doctor or the nurse via Zoom. Okay. And then they'll say, here's what we're seeing, here's what we advise, and at that time you make an educated decision if you want to be on hormone therapy or not, if you qualify. Yeah. It is a controlled substance. Yeah. So it's not like you can just go into CVS and buy it. Yeah. At that point in time, if you're a candidate for TRT and you decide to move forward, then we put in the order with the pharmacy and they mail it directly to you.
And you guys use Partells.
We work with about 7 different pharmacies.
Partells is based in Vegas, so it was kind of funny.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we started working with Partel, I don't know, a couple months ago. It's been good. The thing is, you got to remember.
Because they're a compound therapy.
Yeah, we have commercial pharmacies we work with and compounding. But the reason we work with multiple is for 2 reasons. One, because we want to price compare. Yeah. We want to be able to pass on the best deal to you guys. And we're only, for female hormone therapy, it's $125 a month, and for men, it's $150. That's the lowest in the industry of a reputable clinic. Okay. Yeah. But so you'll do the blood work. You're qualified for it. The medicine comes to your house. Most guys, there's not like a set standard necessarily. Yeah. But generally, we're seeing the doctors and nurses prescribe 200 milligrams testosterone cypionate per week. Now you're getting to your question of how to administer. Yeah. There's 2 ways. You can go intramuscular, which is a little bit longer needle, generally like a 25 gauge, and you'll inject into the muscle. It's generally be the glutes, the quads, or the delts. Or if you're not a big fan of needles, you can go subcutaneous, which is, an insulin syringe and under the skin of the abdomen. For females, they almost always go subcutaneous because they're taking a tiny amount, right? Like whereas we would start some guys at 200 milligrams, we would start a female at 10 milligrams. Because what a lot of people don't understand.
Testosterone makes women horny too, I heard.
So you got to keep in mind, women have more testosterone than estrogen in their reproductive years. A lot of people think, I'm a woman, I have estrogen, and I'm a man, I have testosterone.
That's exactly
we have both, right? Yeah. And you want to have adequate levels of both. It definitely impacts your romantic relationships, for sure. If you're, and men or women, if you're low testosterone, it's, you just don't have that drive. And but to your spouse, if they don't understand it, they think you don't love them, you're not attracted to them, and that's not the case. You just don't have the drive, you don't have the desire. So we've worked with couples that they both get optimized together, and all of a sudden they're pursuing each other again. It's like once or twice a day. And to whereas it'd go months before, and we've actually saved marriages, Troy. Like all of a sudden that fire's back, and they're like, oh, I am relevant to them now that we got things figured out, because testosterone is naturally occurring in the body. We're not talking about performance enhancing drugs like Anadrol, D-bol, Trembolin. Like those things, they're generally derived from testosterone, but it's not naturally occurring. Okay. So we have testosterone in our body.
But it's synthetic, the testosterone that you guys are doing.
It's exogenous. So yeah, it's man-made and then put in the body.
So how do they make it?
I don't know how exactly they source the powder, but basically you have your hormone powder, you have a benzoyl alcohol, and then you have a base oil. Generally, the base oil is going to be grapeseed oil or cottonseed oil. There's some companies that'll offer, what is the other? I can't think of what the other base oil is, but the reason is it's not as stable, and it'll expire.
It's just an oil base with a powder.
So yeah, you have the hormone powder, you have the oil base, and then you have the benzoyl alcohol, and that's what keeps it in suspension, right? So like
suspension means like moving around.
Means that the powder has been reconstituted with the oil and the benzoyl alcohol. So it's a liquid. It goes from a powder form to a liquid form, right?
Okay.
So, but a lot of things you're seeing, like these guys, these bodybuilders that want to buy it as cheap as possible, they'll buy it from a guy and they say, dude, this is dosed at 300 or something like that. And yeah, that's possible. But to have that higher dose, you have to put in more benzoyl alcohol. That's the thinning agent. Mm-hmm. So to have a high dose, you have to have extra BA. So the higher BA, the more of a literal pain in the ass. The benzoyl alcohol is what causes site injection pain. Mm. So you'll hear guys, they get like test 300, test 400, but they can't freaking walk because they feel like they're Charlie horsed at all times, right? Mm. So one, the purity levels of that stuff, you never know what you're getting. It's only your body, so you should care. Yeah. There's guys that want to say $50 and they buy something from a guy behind Walmart rather than work with our clinic.
Yeah, no, there is guys, like my brother-in-law was buying stuff from a guy who was making his own.
Right, and you know what? Those guys, I guarantee you, they don't test their powders where they source it from, and it's not, the purity levels are off. And if you're getting,
do you guys eventually see yourself going pharmaceutical?
Yeah, for sure. I'm working on a pharmacy now, but my bandwidth has gotten sucked down pretty hard.
Dude. You and I are never gonna stop pursuing just shit. Like just to take like one thing off. Matt actually makes his own gym equipment too. We didn't even fucking talk about that.
Well, and that's another thing. The steel and the importing, I'm doing less and less of that.
Yeah. You just rather buy it from like Techno Gym or some shit like that?
I don't like Techno Gym.
I love their shit.
Do you?
I mean, technology-wise, I think they're the most advanced. I don't know. I still have my equipment. It's lasted forever.
Okay.
I mean, it's too expensive.
Techno Gym is what you see in a lot of like high-end hotels. Yeah. It's just not built for the type of like the heavy lifter.
Yeah, yours is way more. So you manufactured yours and made it, right? Let me go back to the medicine because we'll circle back to that because that's a whole new topic.
Yeah, we don't want people's heads spinning.
Yeah. We're making them spin already. So okay, so TRT, I need to be taking 200. Is it milligrams?
Yeah, so it's going to come 200 milligrams generally, but that's not the case for everybody. Yeah. We have some guys say it's a banker. He's not even going to work out, but he needs more energy. He needs more focus. He needs more sex drive. He just wants to come home at 5 o'clock and have energy to play with his kids, right? Yeah. On the flip side, I work directly with a group of special forces guys at JSOC in North Carolina. Yeah. I believe one of the guys is on the team that got bin Laden. Yeah. No shit. And those guys don't know if they're going out on a 2-hour mission or if it turns into a 12-hour mission, right? Yeah. Or a 2-day mission. Yeah. So those guys, they get a higher dose per day. So it comes down to when the doctor's determining protocol for each person. Yeah. It's what are your expectations for therapy? And what does your lifestyle require? Yeah. Right? And first and foremost, we want to make sure you're healthy. Yeah. Our blood work, so our blood work's a 60 biomarker panel, and that's more than necessary. We don't have to do that.
Let me tell you one thing about that, guys, real quick. So there's a big difference between the blood work I did with you guys and the blood work I did with other people. Like they went so deep on my stuff. And they were like talking to me everything, and you could tell it's done by somebody who actually is a bodybuilder and knows that shit. Because you had a lot of input in there, I could just tell.
Well, man, everybody in our company, with the exception of a couple of younger females, I think they're all on hormone therapy. Yeah. Our medical directors are. You know, I've been on for 20 years. One of the other doctors has been on for 7 years. Like these guys live the life. So it's not just, you know, the primary care guys. In their defense, they have to treat 1,000 different things, right? Well, this is what we do.
Well, yeah, and I wanted to ask about that. So I was talking to my doctor the other day about that, and I was like talking about testosterone, and he's trying to sell me on this new stuff. He's like, "No, we're doing this thing now, Troy, where we inject you with a little thing in the
pellet."
Side. Yeah.
Don't do those.
And I was like, I don't know, man. And he was like selling me hard on it, and I'm like, he was like, "No, it's better." And I was like, honestly, I'm gonna take my advice from a bodybuilder versus a doctor in that case.
Let me tell you why. Yeah. And our medical directors are the same opinion. Pellets, the only benefit to pellets is convenience, right? They come in, they implant the pellets, and then you don't come back for 4 or 5 months. Yeah. Okay? But here's the issue. What if they get the dose wrong? What if you've never done it before, they're really just guessing, because I can take 200 milligrams of testosterone, that might put me at 700. But that might put you at 1,000. You don't know, right? So when they put the pellets in.
Yeah, makes sense. Totally.
They put the pellets in. If they underdose it, okay, no worries, add more later, right? But if they go too high you got to live with that for 4 months.
Unless you want to get it cut out again.
Yeah, dude. And sometimes the people have those fall out. Like they can get, anytime you're going to implant something like that, it's a much higher risk of infection.
Yeah.
But the people who definitely need to stay away from it are females. And that's the ones that they're getting pitched to a lot. Because imagine a female, they give her the wrong dose, or she's a hypermetabolite, she uptakes a ton of it. And she's getting viralization symptoms, lowering of the voice, facial hair, enlarged clitoris, things like that.
Yeah, fun.
Bro, there's not much you can do.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, ride it out. And that, for us guys, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But for a female, that's not cool at all.
Yeah.
Like that's dangerous, and I think a lot of these places like to sell it because they sell it for more, and they don't have to see them as often.
Yeah,
right?
No, it makes sense. What he was telling me, and I was like, I'm gonna bring this up to Matt when I see him next again, because I didn't buy it. I was like, I get it. It's a good business model for maybe you, but it doesn't seem like.
Not for me.
No, I mean for that guy.
Yeah, for him it would. And I would say probably the first time you do it is the most risky. But after the first time, you kind of get an idea where your levels are going to be at. Okay, we implanted 5 pellets this time. That got him at 800.
So TRT, the benefits are sex drive, strength and conditioning, helps your metabolism. What else?
Energy, focus, but overall well-being. It's going to just put you in a better mood. And for women, it's going to help with mood stability.
What about the side effects?
There are 2 main side effects. They're not common when used correctly, but there are something to consider. And that's why we monitor your blood work. That's why we do initial labs, 3 months labs, 6 months labs, 12 months labs, right?
Got it.
And what we're looking for then is your hemoglobin, or basically your red blood cell count. So when you take testosterone, injectable testosterone, it causes your body to produce more red blood cells, which is great because that's energy, nutrients to your muscles. But too many red blood cells thickens your blood, right?
Yeah, that's why they talk about donating blood and stuff, right?
Yes, you're on it. So say your hemoglobin gets to be 17 or higher, the doctor's going to say, and it's not like a ticking time bomb. You don't have to immediately go to Red Cross and donate, but they'll say you need to go donate some blood. And what that does is that'll let you get rid of some of the red blood cells.
Do you donate blood often?
I do it twice a year generally, but here's what I do, and this is what I learned from the bodybuilding world. When I go donate blood, there's something you can do called a power red. And they pull whole blood just like they would on a normal draw, but they spin it in a centrifuge. They separate out the red blood cells. They just take the red blood cells, and the volume you lost, they put saline in. So they put the blood back in, less red blood cells, but you're actually better hydrated because now you have
stick
saline.
it back in you.
Correct.
I've had it done before.
Yeah, you get cold, like your lips get cold, but.
Where do you do that at?
Red Cross, the blood banks, most of them do it because there's a need for red blood cells.
So what's it called? What you do?
It's called a Power Red at the Red Cross. If you go to the Red Cross, it's called a Power Red. And that's literally them just taking red blood cells, which they need and you need to get rid of. So it's perfect for us. Now, if you haven't donated blood in years, do whole blood, get everything cleaned out. But if you're doing it 2 to 3 times a year to get your hemoglobin down, just do the Power Red. Just donate the red blood cells.
So I should probably do that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, well, when you do your follow-up blood work, they'll show your hemoglobin, and if it's elevated, they're going to tell you to go do it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So so it's high blood cells, which.
Yeah. So we talked about the increased red blood cell count. The other effect that we commonly see, not common, but it happens, is sometimes it's dose dependent. But when you increase your testosterone, estrogen likes to follow, right? And guys like myself that are optimized to the top of normal, that happens. So in that case, then the doctor would prescribe anastrozole, and that's an anti-estrogen. There's 2 well-known anti-estrogens. You have anastrozole and letrozole. Anastrozole is going to just suppress it to a degree, so it's dose dependent. So we need estrogen. Don't think, like a lot of guys are like, I just want to shut off my estrogen and crank up my test. I get that. If I was building a soldier for war, maybe. But you need estrogen.
Yeah, just like
for
females need
mood,
testosterone.
but also for your joints. Too little estrogen, you're gonna have dry joints, dry muscles. Too much estrogen, you'll retain water, have skin irritation, acne, oily skin, stuff like that. So with anastrozole, I take half a tab once a week, and what that does is it brings it back down into the optimal range. Because you don't wanna have too much, but you don't wanna have too little. So you put your estrogen here, unless you have your testosterone here. The other anti-estrogen that's commonly known is letrozole. And that's not something anybody should really mess with because that completely shuts it off. That's a bodybuilding drug that guys take going into show to drop estrogen, because when you drop estrogen, you drop subcutaneous water. So it makes you look dry, right? But it's not a good way to live. Your joints feel achy. You feel like you have rust all over. It'll kill your energy, it can kill your libido. So from our standpoint, it's not just give this guy testosterone. It's we look at the whole 60 biomarker panel, identify if there's any health concerns. If there is, we say, hey, you may need to go see a specialist, or you may see your primary care, and then come back. But for the most part, we'll say, okay, clean bill of health, they're looking good. Then they get prescribed the medication, they start testosterone. But we're going to look and make sure all the hormones are working synergistically together. We're not just spiking testosterone.
Right.
Because what a lot of guys, they get their blood work, and all they look at is total testosterone, right? Well, you have total and free.
Yeah.
And the way I describe it is, so on your vehicle, consider total being your gas tank. You can fill up your gas tank, but your gas pump, which is the free testosterone, if that's not working, what good is the total?
Yeah.
Right? So total is all the testosterone in your body. Free is what your body is able to utilize.
Got it.
And so we want to make sure that some guys, when we took on, probably can't use his name, we brought on this celebrity, and his total was good, but his free was terrible.
Yeah.
And it turned out that it was being suppressed because he had elevated estrogen, and we got that. So he was able to continue to take the same dose, but get almost twice the effect, because his free was all of a sudden opened up to where he could utilize that total testosterone more, right? So you don't want to just, and that's the thing, that's the bro science. You're not going to know this stuff. Like not a lot. Some guys do. Some guys get it. But
you're not gonna know this shit unless you live it, dude. You obviously, it's like real. You're talking like a foreign language right now. Like, this is like me talking about real estate, and people just get lost because you could tell. Like, I'm like, okay. So TRT, good thing. Make sure you take it. Make sure you get checked out for it. It can really help you out. What other things should I be taking?
So, what I personally take is NAD, Sermorelin. I just started taking IGF-1.
Okay, let's go through each one of them. What's NAD?
So NAD is, I believe it was developed for Alzheimer's and dementia. So it really helps with cognitive function, and it works. I used to only be able to get it from an IV, and so I'd go in once a month. The clinic would give me IV, but it takes a long time. You have to slow drip it. So it takes like 2 hours to do an IV. It's not convenient, but if you go too fast, it can cause flu-like symptoms. And I got sick the first time because I was like, speed it up. And I definitely got flu-like symptoms for a couple hours. But now we sell it by the vial.
Yeah.
And I microdose. I take an injection every morning, right? However, I didn't take this morning because I'm going to do it here on the podcast. So I can demonstrate a sub-Q injection, and then you have your testosterone. You'll take an intramuscular testosterone shot, right?
Perfect.
Okay. So I take NAD. For me, we have a DNA test, a one-time DNA test at the clinic. Get all kinds of results from what your diet should be, to what your sleep window should be, to how you respond to medication. But for me, I carry one of the two Alzheimer's genes. My grandmother had it terribly. I mean, her body was strong, lasted 20 years longer than her brain. So she was not there.
My grandma had it too.
Yeah, and so like I'm very much aware of it, and I'm trying to be proactive. So for me, it's for cognitive health, so I stay sharp, but it works on a cellular level. It actually works in the mitochondria, and it can help maintain your telomere length. So it also has a ton of benefits for anti-aging, but there's a lot of benefits to NAD. And it actually, in high doses, is used to treat some diseases.
Okay.
So
NAD is one, that's a great thing to take for just, you're saying it's gonna help me with memory, long-term.
Yeah, it helps maintain cognitive function, so you don't, over time.
You can be sharper.
Yeah, because dementia and
you're not going to
Alzheimer's
probably notice anything though.
It's like a multivitamin. You need it, right? But you're not going to catch a pump in the gym because of it.
Okay, got it. So NAD you take. What's the other one that you take?
The other one I take every night before bed is Sermorelin.
What does Sermorelin do?
Sermorelin is it's an HGH precursor. So
precursor means what?
Meaning it makes your body produce more human growth hormone after you take it.
Got it.
When I was bodybuilding, I just took straight human growth hormone.
Why wouldn't you take straight human growth hormone?
and there's probably varying opinions on this, but for me, anytime you can take a supplement to make your body produce more of what you want, it's healthier, it's easier on the body, right?
Okay.
Because it's same thing with testosterone, HGH. If you're injecting exogenous testosterone, exogenous HGH, exogenous means man-made outside the body,
Okay.
then your body says, oh, well, we're getting the constant supply of this, we can shut off our natural production. So by taking the precursor, the sermorelin, it just stimulates that system in your body to produce more. So it doesn't ever suppress it, right?
Don't they have anything like that for testosterone?
They do. So testosterone, you can take, there's generally two methods, HCG or Clomid.
I've taken HCG before. That's like a female pregnancy produced.
It is a fertility drug for men and women.
Yeah.
So what HCG does, it makes your body produce more, or testicles produce more sperm. So it helps fertility for men. For women, it helps with fertility as well, and follicle and stuff like that.
But that helps also produce testosterone?
Yeah, and it also makes your body produce more natural testosterone. Clomid, on the other hand, is an oral tab, and it makes your body produce more testosterone as well. However, it's limited, right? So if you're a guy and you're at 600 and you just want to boost to 800, it can jump your total testosterone 100 to 200 points.
Yeah.
Granted, there's outliers to that. But so if there's a guy who comes in, he's at 300, we're not going to give him HCG or Clomid. That's going to barely put a dent in it. He's going to need testosterone.
Right.
Right? And
should I worry about testosterone, taking testosterone right now, stopping it from producing my natural levels? Should I go off of it? What's the recommendation?
no, that's a good question, and I get it a lot. When you're taking testosterone, it will over time suppress your natural production, right? But our bodies are very resilient. I was on for 18 years, and I took a high dose. Well, high dose compared to TRT. I'm not crazy like a lot of the bodybuilders, but I was taking probably double what a therapeutic dose would be, right?
So you're taking 400 a week?
At least.
So 400 to 800.
Yeah. So it was high, and so my wife at the time, we decided we wanted to conceive, and so I got my sperm analyzed, and it was very poor. There wasn't a whole lot.
And you're on testosterone at this time?
Correct. And so I came off of testosterone altogether, and I started taking HCG, Clomid, and glutathione. I have a fertility protocol if anybody needs it. I'm not a doctor.
But if you got low sperm,
yeah, it totally works, and it's something that I've gathered through my life in bodybuilding, seeing other guys do things. I've kind of taken their protocols and made my own. But I got my testosterone back up to 365, but I'm telling you, when I got off, it was 17, bro. Yeah, don't lie. But yeah, it's pathetic. It's bad.
No, it's not. I'm just laughing just at the number. Like, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at 17.
No, bro.
But I think if I was taking it, yours would be naturally low because.
Yeah. So generally, if you stop cold
turkey
turkey
for 18 years,
if you come off, there's gonna be.
I would imagine mine would jump down now.
It will, more than likely.
Yeah.
So when you discontinue therapy, there's a time frame where your body has to kick back on to start producing.
Yeah.
So generally a few months, sometimes it takes guys 6 months. Heavy users might take a year. And chances are it's going to be lower than it was when you started.
Yeah.
So the best case scenario when you stop is that your body comes back to baseline. Baseline being where you started before you started taking testosterone.
Yeah.
But you got to keep in mind, after the age of, I think, 35, we're going to lose 2 to 3% of our natural production every year.
Yeah.
So it's not going to get better.
Yeah.
So that's why hormone therapy is generally something we do a long, long time.
Yeah, guys, like, I've done a bunch of research, and I don't see anybody who's been taking TRT for a long time say, like, I wish I never did this. They all say the same thing. They say it is phenomenal. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah, I mean,
like, I researched, I couldn't find any negative things other than you might have to dump your blood.
Right, and the negative reports out there have kind of been debunked. It doesn't cause cardiovascular disease. What does is, having high blood pressure due to having too many red blood cells. So, like I said, it comes with responsibility.
Yeah.
But it's healthy, and that's why you want to work with a clinic so we can monitor you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's easy to pin and take an injection of testosterone, but what do you do to make sure that everything's staying where it needs to be while you're on? And then how do you know how to come off? In regards to fertility and natural production of testosterone, that will rebound, But for me, I started that protocol to get it to come back faster, right?
You got it up to how much? From 17 to
365.
Okay, so great.
It was what I got to where before I got back on. I probably could have got it higher, but in reality, you're not going to probably go past where you were before you started, right?
Got it.
That's kind of best case scenario. But your body's resilient. So guys that are worried, am I going to be able to produce testosterone again? Yes, but keep in mind, don't expect it to be any better than it was when you got on, and it's probably going to be a little worse. And fertility purposes, almost everybody I know is able to rebound and conceive.
So so moving back to what else you take, you said testosterone, NAD,
Sermorelin,
which we just talked about, and that helps you produce HGH.
Yeah, sermorelin and ipamorelin, they're rather similar, and they're both going to help your body produce more human growth hormone.
Okay. What negative side effects on that?
I have not experienced any.
Okay. What's the next one?
So another one that is pretty popular, and I wish I would have discovered it earlier on, is BPC 157. It's really popular right now. So what that is, there's a lot of different benefits from it. For me, the best thing, the biggest method of action is a massive anti-inflammatory. So I describe it as it's like taking a 12 ibuprofen without the gut rot. You know what I mean? So I had tendonitis real bad in my forearms before my last competition, and I mean I could literally not hardly get a jug of water out of my fridge. My arms would just want to stop because the signal to your brain's like, this is pain, this is bad, right? So BPC 157 helps reduce the inflammation. It helps with cell repair. So if you have a torn labrum or a micro tear in a tendon, it's going to help repair that. A full tear, you got to have surgery, right? Or live with it. So it helps with cell repair, but it's not like Mr. Fix-It. It'll help to a degree. And then it helps balance your gut, your enzymes in your gut, and it helps you with digestion. There's a lot of other benefits too. Those are the things that I really look for in it. That's why I use it.
Is there anything else you take?
Well, on the BPC 157, when I have an injury, I was injecting it straight into my forearm every day until that inflammation and pain subsided. Then I would go sub-Q because it does circulate through the body. And now I just use it twice a week on my heavy leg day and my heavy back day. Okay. Like before I go to bed, I know if I don't take it, I'm going to be wrecked when I get out of bed. Okay. But if I take a good dose of it before I go to sleep, I'll wake up in the morning and be like, damn right, like I'm ready to roll. You know what I mean? So it just helps you get back in the fight faster.
Okay. Is there anything else?
I mean, I play around with some different peptides because I don't like to speak on...
I'm glad you're going to break that because what the fuck is a peptide?
Okay, so a peptide, I believe, I think it's like a 50 chain or less amino acid. It's just amino acids. Okay.
Because they're getting a lot of play these days.
They are, and you got to consider a peptide. NAD is a peptide. Semaglutide, medical weight loss stuff, that's a peptide. Okay. Insulin's actually a peptide. So peptide is a big umbrella of a category of supplementation, right? Just like when people say steroids. Well, testosterone is technically a steroid, but so is Trimbolene. So is the inhaler that you use for asthma. So you can't really put it in that box.
Steroids are good. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I took, when I moved to Las Vegas, I never had any issues with allergies. And all of a sudden I started developing allergies. And I mean, just out of the blue, like I couldn't stop sneezing. I could just drooling down my face of snot. And I'm miserable. I'm taking the over-the-counter shit and nothing's working. Finally, I'm just talking to people about this. And somebody's like, have you taken Kenalog yet? I'm like, I don't know what that is. So I'm like, no. So I go take a shot of Kenalog, which I find out is a steroid.
A corticosteroid?
I don't even know. I have no idea. But I know it's Kenalog. I took it one time in my butt, and I have no allergies.
Nice.
And then 8 months go by, 9 months go by, I take another shot. Now, since I moved to the Midwest, I don't have the issue because it's the dust of Las Vegas that gave me this, I developed this allergy, which made me miserable. And there's a lot of false information out there, you know what I mean? Like, the shit that we're spending more time thinking about is, oh, what's this drug gonna do to me? But what about the chips I'm putting in? What about the freaking food I'm putting in my body? What about all that shit? I mean, I was never a guy who took any shots.
Right.
But I have been lately, and I'm like, so I'm trying to drop weight. What's the best way for me to drop weight? There's a lot of weight drugs. You see all these celebrities are losing weight right now. everybody wants an edge. What do you recommend for somebody who's trying to lose weight?
Okay, well, so keep in mind, testosterone is naturally occurring in the body. If you were low on vitamin C, you'd take a vitamin C supplement. Testosterone is no different. Okay. We're not talking about performance enhancing drugs. It does enhance performance.
Yeah.
But we're in a different lane here, right?
Yeah.
The peptides we're talking about, these are healing peptides.
Yeah.
They have therapeutic benefits to your muscles, tendons, bones, stuff like that. And then we have some cognitive health stuff. And then you got the semaglutides, the Mounjaros, stuff like that. That's help with weight loss. And that's pretty popular now.
Yeah, Ozempic is the big one.
Yeah, trizipatide. They're always coming out with new ones. But that stuff, works. But what a good clinic will tell you, just as important as taking that, is proper nutrition and resistance training. Because a lot of people take it slows digestion. They don't want to eat, so they don't eat. And then they already don't work out, so they're going to lose weight. But it's not going to be just lean, or it's not just going to be body fat. You're going to lose lean tissue, along with body fat.
Yeah.
So you need to continue to eat, even if you're just drinking protein shakes. You need to continue to get the protein in. You need some sort of carbohydrates, but you got to be doing resistance training. That's the only thing that's going to preserve the muscle.
So, I'm on this kick right now, and I've never been a breakfast guy, but because I'm trying to get a little bit leaner, work out a little bit more, and just move more. In general, move more. Like when you can't work out, you got to move, right? Like especially the older you get, they say walking is the best thing that you can do. So I've been doing a lot of eggs. Like my neighbors got chickens. They sell us eggs for $4. They're all free range, and I'm eating like 3 or 4 eggs in the morning.
Nice.
Just straight up.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing for me?
Absolutely. It just depends on where you're naturally predisposed for your cholesterol level. Like cholesterol's it's gotten a bad rap. It's not as bad as people think. But you also want to know where your cholesterol is at, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to fuel a fire.
Does your test look at that cholesterol?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so me being monitored by you guys are kind of checking all these boxes for me that I don't have to worry about stuff.
Right. And in addition to that, we'll check your thyroid. And if you need some sort of thyroid medication, levothyroxine, something of that nature, that can be prescribed too. That still falls in the wheelhouse of human optimization. That's what we do. We're an optimization clinic.
Okay.
So
a real topology there. So the guy who's getting probably the best rap out there, who's really able to articulate this well, and you're just as good, is Gary Brecka. Have you heard of this guy?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Okay, so he talks about this test that you can take, and I don't know if you guys do the same test, that you can find out what you need to do to lower your anxiety or to do this.
The 10x DNA test.
Yes.
We offer the exact same test for $200 less with more markers.
Have I already taken that, or should I take that?
You haven't taken it yet.
I want to take that.
I can get it for you.
Yeah, I definitely want to take that because I've been talking about, his is I think $500 or $1,000, right?
Theirs is, I think their lowest level is $599 and ours is $399.
So what are you going to tell me on that test?
They can tell you a lot. Honestly, there's so many, and it's constantly evolving.
What's it called though?
It's a DNA test, a methylation DNA test.
Okay.
And so basically methylation is when you take something and put it into the body, how does your body process it, right? Because nothing you put in your mouth and eat or put in your body stays in that form. So the test says how your DNA is going to process what is put in your body.
And then what will you guys tell me after that test?
Yeah, so I
can take the test, but I don't know how to read it. What the hell?
Sure. Well,
I want to know what you're going to tell me what to eat. You're going to tell me what I need to stay away from, or
yeah, and we have DNA coaches with it, so you'll get. I mean, there's a ton of results, thousands of snippets that you can pick and choose which ones you want. But what we generally, it would take hours and hours and hours to go through all that. We go through the ones that are something you need to be considering that you could change for your lifestyle to be healthier. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the tests are going to tell you, and like I said, there's different tiers that you can choose your tests. You can even a la carte it. But one will tell you what workout is going to best fit your DNA. For me, it does not make sense for me to be a marathon runner.
No.
My body doesn't respond well to it. Maybe you notice I need resistance weight training. That's how I respond the best, right? It'll tell you what type of workout is going to work best with your DNA. And then it'll also tell you what diet works best with your DNA. People get on these kicks, I'm going to be on keto or I'm going to be on Atkins.
Yeah.
And you're going to see a result, and generally a balanced diet is the way to go. But for me, my DNA structure responds best to a Mediterranean diet. High protein, high fats, right? Or moderate fats at least.
Good fats though.
Yeah, some people like nuts and avocados, stuff like that. Bacon's pushing it, but I like bacon. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you're off the turkey. That shit sucks.
Well, when you don't eat anything else, you don't mind it. But when you switch to real bacon, you're like, dude. But I don't respond. On the DNA test, it tells me I metabolize saturated fat really well, so I'm not going to weight gain from it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean though that internally that it's best for me. So I got to keep an eye on my triglycerides.
Sounds like you're watching everything though.
Oh, absolutely. So it'll tell you what workout's best for you, what meals are going to be best for you, how you respond to toxins, like if there's mold, if you're going to be hyper responsive to it, or if it's not going to bother you at all. It'll tell you, based off your DNA, what time window you should go to bed, how many hours of sleep you need.
Oh, wow.
It's cool. Yeah, I need a lot, actually.
Yeah, I don't feel like I need a ton.
Well, you probably don't, and your DNA would tell you that. And, there's a pharmacology panel. You can input any medication you're taking, and it'll tell you how you would respond to it, generally off your DNA, and if there's a better alternative to it.
Man, I feel like there's so much cool shit going here, man. Like, you got my brain just going a million miles an hour.
You geek out about the DNA test, and we have DNA coaches.
I need to read it with you, though, because...
I go over it with you.
Yeah, one thing is, that I'm thinking about is, how great of a business is Primary Recovery? Are you going to start doing vitamins, too? Because I was just thinking... The reason I was thinking that is, once you started talking... I brought up Gary Brecka, I also am taking the exact vitamins that he recommends. So I forget what it is. I couldn't tell you. I know one's K2 or something like that. One's called...
It's K2 with D3.
Yeah, that's what it is. And I'm taking the sea salt. I have a regimen.
Same.
So what I do is I go in the morning, I throw the sea salt in there, I take every single thing that he says to take, and then a couple more things. I'm taking magnesium. I don't know all the names of them. I should probably know.
Yeah, so we sell the hydrogen infusion bottles at the clinic.
Yeah.
So I have my hydrogen infusion bottle. I do my sea salt in the morning. With the DNA test, though, it's really cool.
We gotta start a vitamin business together, man. You know what? The guy I sold advertising to back in the day when I cut my teeth in radio. I think I told you my background was radio.
Yeah.
He's one of my best clients. His name was John Wirtz. He owned a company called Seattle Super Supplements. He ended up selling it for $50 million to Vitamin Shop. But he'd be the guy we'd want to talk to.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, just because you could white label that shit really easily.
Trust me, I've looked into it good and hard. It's just I got limited bandwidth.
I'm with you.
What I mean?
I do too, but I think it's something that once you set it up, it's a lot less to think about, because if you're selling the freaking magnesium, the sea salt, the whatever, you've got it, and then you just picks a drop shipping company.
Yeah.
And you just come up with a brand name, whatever.
Well, actually, we're going to take it one step further. So we'll work with a pharmacy with the white labels for us, but it'll be specific to what you need. Yeah. It'll come out in a reel, and it'll say AM, midday, PM, and it's exactly the supplements you need. On the DNA test for me, I realized that I'm prone to deficiency in selenium and choline, which I didn't even know what those were.
Yeah.
So I started supplementing with that. I feel better. I feel sharper.
Yeah.
I dig it, dude.
Yeah.
So that's one of the best things about the DNA test is it gives you all these markers. You can get as nerdy about it as possible, get into the genomes, all this other stuff, but it tells you what you're going to likely be deficient in, and where some person, just one tablet of this would be sufficient, you're going to need X amount, right?
Wow.
Or it tells you what type of magnesium is going to work for what you're needing, like magnesium sulfate. This is what I'm taking, and that helps me with my sleep. And it tells you what time of day to take it. So you got your DNA results, you got your blood work, you pair that, and the clinic goes through, and you can execute your supplementation like a sniper. Instead of going to GNC twice a year and say, give me one of everything and throw a blanket on it, you know exactly what you need. So you're not having your body process a bunch of shit you don't need, you're already sufficient at. You get to pinpoint what to focus your money on as well,
God, there's just so much. So what do you think in the long term, and then I want to get to the shot, because I don't even know how long we're going, but I'm sure we're close to 2 hours. I have no idea. If I was to say, what's the best thing to do in one shot, what is the best thing to do? Like overall, because I'm taking more vitamins and shots than I've ever taken in my life. I was a guy who didn't take anything. Maybe a multivitamin every once in a while.
Right. So my favorite supplement overall, testosterone.
Right.
For sure.
Okay.
100%.
What's your favorite supplement overall?
I mean, I consider them all supplements, really, but like in regards to a peptide,
uncontrolled. That I could buy over the counter anywhere.
I mean, just my my selenium, my choline, magnesium. Oh, citrus bergamot.
These are the things I'm taking. Vitamin D3, 10,000 IU's.
Okay.
Triple strength omega-3 fish oil.
Yep.
Methyl multi without iron methlate.
Okay.
And then Baja Gold mineral sea salt, and then Perfect Amino.
Outside of the Perfect Amino, I take all those things.
Okay.
The methylated multivitamin is smart.
This was everything that Gary Brecka suggested.
And Gary is brilliant. Honestly, I look up to him. I think he's excellent at what he does. We're able to offer the same thing for less money. That's just how he had to do it, right?
Yeah.
Their overhead's huge. It's 10x Health. They got Grant Cardone, who has
they're suing each other.
Yeah, I know. It's because whatever. But
what's your opinion about that?
I think Grant Cardone is a salesman.
Yeah.
And I don't think I watched his podcast with Gary Brecka, and Grant doesn't know his elbow from his asshole when it comes to health.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a business deal, and I think Gary's probably, from my understanding without knowing him, it looks like he is a trusting guy. He's a chill dude that got taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And now he's having to fight for his own company to a degree, right?
Yeah.
So that's my perspective from not knowing anything about it, other than what I see online. But Gary's brilliant, man. He really is, and I'm not saying anything bad about it. We can just give you the same service, actually with a little bit more for less money.
Well, I didn't know you guys did that DNA test. So that's
yeah, we haven't even really marketed it. We have a marketing campaign going out next month for it. So, but it's if you really care to fully optimize, get your blood work done, get your DNA done, and then have somebody, one of our coaches, myself, I'm trained on it. We have other certified coaches, DNA coaches. They'll walk you through it, and then you're like, okay, now I understand what I can do. And it's not just you're going to get immediate benefit, but you're just going to live a longer, healthier life. You're going to be more durable. You're going to avoid disease. It's amazing the lack of knowledge some people have.
Yeah, and on top of that, let me just tell you, like, as a guy, like, I think we're all ego-driven. And, like, as a guy, you're like, I don't need to take testosterone. I'm fine. I got plenty. That's kind of my attitude was before. Mm-hmm. But then you take it, and you're like...
Dude, a lot of guys are ashamed. I
wasn't ashamed. I just was like kind of like I told you, I got 700 testosterone. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then I just noticed my energy level was a little bit lower. And I'm like, I'm going to try this. Like, why not? Like, why not have an edge? And then I'm like, wow. I, like, immediately felt it. And a lot of stuff that you're talking about, you don't immediately feel.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
testosterone, you feel.
Testosterone, you can honestly feel a little bit of a boost within a couple of days. Testosterone cypionate has an 8-day half-life, meaning at 8 days, it's half the medicine's out of your system. So by day 10, you're going to start feeling pretty good. 2 weeks in, okay, I'm really feeling it. By 30 days, you're kicking ass, right? But again, with testosterone cypionate, being that it has an 8-day half-life, guys like you, guys like me, we inject twice a week rather than once a week. It's more convenient to inject once a week. I don't need to explain why. Twice a week is better because, so say you take a shot once a week, by the time your next week rolls around, your levels are going to start declining and you're going to feel a drawdown, right? But if you split your dose, you keep a consistent level the whole time, right? And that's why you feel more sustained. You don't feel the highs or the lows. So that's called microdosing. You basically just split your dose up into 2 shots. Some guys are like, well, I'll do it every day then. That's due to the half-life being 8 days. There's no benefit to injecting more than twice a week with testosterone.
That's what I would think. I'm like the same thing. I'm like, we'll do it every day.
Right, and a lot of people think that way. There may be a less impact on your hemoglobin, hemocratic in regards to red blood cells. That's debatable, but for consistency, twice a week, if you're taking cypionate, is going to be the most efficient way to take it. Anything more is overdone. Anything less, once a week, you're possibly going to feel a drawdown.
And how long is it going to last me with you guys? How long is my supply?
So what we do, we send a bigger vial. We can send you a month's supply at a time, but we charge you more because we have to pay for shipping.
Right.
And shipping for this stuff is anywhere from $30 to $50, depending on the pharmacy we're working with. Some of the peptides have to be on ice, so that's even more expensive. But for the testosterone that you get, you're going to get generally, if you're dosed at 200, you're going to get an 8 to 10 week supply. But we could send it to you every 4 weeks, but we have to charge you more.
Yeah.
And so, you know, testosterone therapy isn't something you do for a week and stop, right?
Why don't you just send people more? Why don't you send a 3 month supply?
Because they do have bud dates, so they have expiration. Now, it's probably still good, but to be in compliance, you can only get so much, right?
So you're looking at taking it in-house, though, and send it right from, start your own pharmacy and do everything, right?
Yeah, we would replace the pharmacy we work with, and the reason for doing so for 2 reasons is, one, we can guarantee the highest quality and consistent supply to our clients. Because occasionally, like Florida had that big hurricane come through, these pharmacies, that not all of them cover all states.
Yeah.
So that was a hub for us, and we were like, shit, we got to pivot to another pharmacy so we don't disrupt therapy for our clients, right?
You guys are like Delta Airlines for drugs.
Kind of.
Yeah. It makes a big difference who you buy your shit from. Because if you're buying diet pills from a big old fat lady, she's probably not the person you should be buying from. If I'm gonna buy something from somebody who is a freaking, like, a G, like Matt is, and you've been taking drugs in your systems for years,
Correct.
and you've studied it, and then you started, I would guess you started this company for yourself personally.
For sure.
And then you were like...
But the difference is, when I was bodybuilding, it was all about how much muscle, how aesthetic could I be.
Yeah.
Now in my mind I've shifted to health and wellness, and slowing the decline is what I say. You don't have to age at a dramatic rate. And a lot of guys just don't know they have this out there. They just say, man, I feel like shit, no energy, no sex drive, this is life, I'll just deal with it. You don't have to do that. It's silly to do it. You're proactive, you're like an outgoing guy, so of course you've gravitated to it, right? But it is the closest thing we have to the fountain of youth. And it's way more dangerous to have low testosterone than to optimize your testosterone, for sure. I mean, low T is going to cause depression. We work with a lot of soldiers. These guys will come over from the VA, which is almost impossible to get prescribed testosterone there. They don't even test for testosterone generally, and they want to put them on SSRIs. They're like, you're just depressed. And yeah, they're depressed, but that's a byproduct of being deficient. So we'll get them on testosterone and say, no, like, I feel great. I'm not moody. I'm not depressed. You know, it was just because their hormones were out of balance, right? Hormones are what drive us, literally. And it dictates your health. You can forego certain ailments down the road if you're proactive now. Testosterone therapy generally, is for guys 30 on, right? But there's also cases where we have some teenagers that are just suffer from true hypogonadism. Their body just doesn't produce it. So they need it to operate.
Yeah, you see it all the time. You see these guys who are older, they're like 60, 70 years old, and they start getting ripped, and they're taking TRT.
Yeah.
And just why not have the edge?
100%.
Check your ego out the door. Why not get the edge? And I'm going to tell you this. I took it from another place. The only time I ever took testosterone. So I took it a long time ago because my buddy was taking it, and I was like, oh, I just want to get jacked. And then I didn't like the way I felt for some reason. I don't know if I was taking it wrong or whatever. And that was in 2013. I remember that. And then I just basically started taking it probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, something like that. And I went to the hormone therapy place because that was the only place. And then I found out you had a place, and I started taking it with you, which, it's the most convenient, because who the hell wants to go in and take a shot, go meet with someone? Like, everybody wants to do anything online.
Right.
And then in addition to that, who wants to take something from somebody who hasn't lived it and breathed it and knows it better than anybody else? And that's you.
Well, that's the problem, like, especially with the VA.
Yeah.
I talked to a gentleman who finally did get prescribed testosterone. They put him on testosterone saponate, 100 milligrams every 3 weeks. And I was like, dude, you're better off not doing it at all. Because what's that going to do? That means for 7 days you're going to be feeling pretty good, and then you're going to feel like shit for 2 weeks. And your body's going to yo-yo the whole time. And that's just because they're not hip to it. They don't have the knowledge on it. They don't really teach it in med school. And that's why you need to work with somebody that specializes in it, right?
100%.
But the guys that you look up to, I promise you they're probably on TRT.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I haven't heard one bad thing about TRT from anybody other than, like what you said before, is you got to regulate your estrogen level, and you got to potentially dump your blood.
You got to keep an eye on your red blood cell count. For sure.
But that's just like a maintenance thing of doing something that helps you feel better.
Right. If you take testosterone correctly, the side effects are minimal to non-existent.
So if I'm in Florida, I want to order testosterone, you got me covered. Which states don't you cover? You said 47 or something.
We're not in Alaska.
Yeah, not Alaska, probably for shipping purposes.
Yeah, nobody ships to Alaska.
There's not a P-pill there.
We're not in Puerto Rico. On our website, Prime Recovery and Wellness, it has a map.
So you're basically everywhere.
We're pretty much everywhere.
So in the same prices everywhere?
Yeah, prices are the same everywhere.
So what's it cost me for TRT?
Well, if you don't have blood work, we'll do your initial labs, and it's $199. And what we do is we would send requisition papers to LabCorp Request on your behalf.
Yep.
You pay for the labs up front, and then you just show up there, you show them your ID, they look at your date of birth and your name, and then they know what to do.
Yep.
And they send about 5 business days later, those results come back to the clinic. The clinic then schedules a Zoom call with you, with the doctor, the nurse practitioner. You go over the results, then they prescribe the medicine, shipped to your door 5 to 7 days later.
Cool. And how much is that going to cost me a month for TRT?
So the blood work is $199, and keep in mind, we make $0 off the blood work and the consult. So the panel that we pull is 60 biomarker panel. If you go to LabCorp without insurance on your own, it's about $1,500. But we have a national account with them. We do a lot of volume.
Yeah.
So we negotiate a really good rate, and we just provide that to you, and maybe it's a segue into our services. If not, it's not $200 lost. This is information you need to know for your own record.
Yeah, you should be doing it anyways.
100%. So then following that, for men, it's $150 a month. For women, it's $125 a month.
So $150 a month, I get all the testosterone that I need based on where my body's at.
Correct.
And then it goes from there in terms of what I want to add to that.
Yeah, so you asked me what I take, and what I should have told you is I developed this, it's called the CEO stack.
Yeah.
It's testosterone, NAD, and sermorelin.
And how much does that set me back?
Well, if you buy the bundle, you get 25% off of all of them.
Okay.
So you save 25% rather than if you were just on taking one of them, correct? Don't quote me on the price because I don't know, right?
Okay.
Offhand.
Well, it's your company, so it's like, whatever.
It's at cost.
Yeah, it's at cost. So I highly recommend Matt, his business, everything like that. We've gone a long time. I'd like to have you come back and go more into like some of the other things about the weight training and things that we didn't touch on today, even the gym equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're almost probably 2.5 hours deep now. So with that being said, I'm gonna wrap things up. How do people follow your journey and work with you?
I mean, my personal Instagram is just my name, Matt_Karstetter. Our clinic is Prime Recovery and Wellness, and we're on Facebook and Instagram. Of course, we have a website, primerecoverywellness.com. And yeah, I mean, you guys can make contact that way. You can get with me directly.
Okay.
I handle a lot of the initial consults, especially for men.
Okay.
You guys can call me or you can email me. It's matt@primerecovery.online. And I'll give you my phone number because I use my personal cell.
Okay, perfect.
It's 620-242-3523. You can call or text me at any time. If I'm awake and available, I'll take your call or text you right back.
Awesome. Now, so you're going to help them out with Prime Recovery. You're going to help them out with that. For people who are trying to get a hold of you at the gym and stuff like that, it's local to Kansas City.
Yeah, so we're in Kansas and Missouri right now. And it's the Foundation 24-hour gyms, tfgyms.com. And the Zona Rosa location we're developing now is what we're going to take across the country. And so we're looking for people
That's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, we're looking for people to partner with, and we're going to start setting up shop in Iowa, Nebraska, Colorado, Texas.
Telling you, if you don't have it all figured out with I-29, that would be the one I'd love to be a part of.
Okay, well, it's good to know. And I
mean, it's your baby. I know you want to do it, but if you run into a jam, I'm right down the road there. I can run maintenance calls.
Yep. No, I definitely have you in mind for it. I even considered doing a syndication on that deal. That you and I have gone to those conferences. So right now, I think I'm just going to get the land secure.
For sure.
And then kind of go back through and try and make it as efficient as possible and then break ground. So.
Yeah, and if you're looking for tilt-up construction work, if you're a glazer, if you're anybody like that, you want to come and help build a gym, make some money in Kansas City, Missouri.
Sure. And we're doing 3 here in Kansas City. We're going to do one in Zona, one in Olathe, and one in Lee Summit.
So after your lease is done, you're going to build one up there.
Oh, did I say Olathe? Overland Park.
Overland Park.
Yeah. The reason I don't want to leave the spot in Olathe is because as soon as I leave, somebody else is going to jump in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is your plan to get bought out eventually?
No.
You want to just keep going.
What I want to do is promote from within if I can, and put my lead guys in ownership roles.
Yeah.
And then give them territories. And so one of my guys wants to have like 5 or 6 locations, right?
So it's pretty cool, man. Like just meeting you just started stuff. It's really starting to take off now. I know you've willed that shit uphill.
Oh yeah.
And it's just awesome to see. I really appreciate your friendship. We'll do another one. We've got a bunch of stuff to follow up with on that. We didn't get to touch on today. We touched on so many different things. Guys, make sure you give Matt a follow. Oh, that's what my brain just came back. Okay. You also got a podcast, dude. You're a very religious guy. We didn't even touch on that. Matt prays at every meal. I've been out with him before. It's really cool. I asked him what he said because I've never been a pray guy. He says, I just ask God what I want. And
to a degree, and give thanks.
Yeah, yeah. So he's a spiritual guy. He's a good guy. What's your podcast?
It's the Foundation Podcast, and we do, like I had my pastor on there, I had a youth pastor on later. It's not all about faith. I don't hit anybody over the head with it, but if you come into my gyms, there's one logo in every gym. It says spelled big strength, and the T's are crosses. So, and we hold Bible study every Thursday at 7 at each location. It's called Bibles and Barbells. You don't have to be a member of my gym to come, but everybody's welcome, and you can come to the gym whether you're, of any denomination or a non-believer. It doesn't matter. But if you have questions, it's welcome. You can ask it. So we're not chasing you around trying to bring you to the Lord. But if you have questions, I can tell you how it's helped my life. Yeah. The difference it's made in my life. Yeah. And everything I have is due to that.
Yeah, I hear that from a lot of people. I think that the older you get too, I think that you want to be closer to God, right? It's just like one of those things that you realize if something's missing, it's probably that.
I've always had a relationship with God, and I got baptized as a young boy when I was a baby, but I got baptized again as a man about 13 years ago. Yeah. And I just kind of recommitted myself, and don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. Yeah. I mean, I have my struggles.
Yeah. As does everybody.
But that's life, We're sinners. We're blessed for the sacrifice for our sins. The fact that we know we're not perfect, we're never going to be, but you have to strive for it. Yeah. And do your best with it, and try and be God honoring whenever you can.
Guys, make sure you give us a 5-star review. Make sure you check out Matt's podcast. Make sure you go and get your TRT. I highly recommend it. Check out his company. It's the best in town. It's the best in 46 or 47 states. He's going to be taking over. I promise you that. He's a good guy. Support good people. You know what I mean? Like, you want to do business with somebody that you know. This is somebody who's built his lifestyle, competed at the highest level, and succeeded, and now is building something great. And he's somebody that you want to look up to. Appreciate you coming on,
Thanks,
man.
Troy. I appreciate it, brother.
All right. Peace. Hey, thank you so much for tuning into our podcast right now. I am so happy that you are here. You are in the right spot to be getting inspired by other people that have just achieved their goals so that you can achieve your goals. Do me a favor. Leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us grow. And give us comments and feedbacks. We read those. It helps us grow. The most important person in this podcast is the listener, right? And so if you give us your feedback, it will allow us to create a better podcast for you. And make sure you enjoy the show and leave us a 5-star review.